Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Wednesday, November 6th, 9:06 a.m. The reason we are starting late is because I can't think of a good excuse. I have zero good excuse. I woke up late. I am so freaking tired, bro. Last night we had an 8-hour stream, and I think we ended it at like 3:15. I ended up sleeping at 4:30ish, and so now we're here for the Market Open. It is the first day post-election, the election that we have been talking about for the past year now. It is now officially done, and it's Doug says it's because staying up till 3 a.m. hits different at 27 than it did at 25. Yeah, when I was 25, I could stay up till 5 a.m. and wake up at 7, and I'm good to go. Getting older now, baby. No, yeah, guys. I woke up a little late. I think I woke up at literally like 8:55 or something, and I was like, oh, I'm late. So we're here. We're back. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Donald Trump is the next president of the United States of America. And last night we were up till 4 a.m.-ish, 3 a.m.-ish to see him become the next president of the United States. And he became the next president of the United States in a decisive manner. I'm pulling up the map right now. So when I went to bed, he had a decent amount of electoral votes. It is now officially, well, okay, so they're still counting some votes, but here we go. The Republicans have won the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. You got Trump 277 to 224. Look at the popular vote for now. We still have more to count, but 71 million versus Kamala's 66 million. A Republican has not won the popular vote in a long time. Donald Trump winning the popular vote is a sweeping indictment of how the American people essentially did not agree with Kamala Harris either as a candidate or her policies as the political framework for the trajectory in this country. And as a result, you have a Trump victory. The Senate went 52-42 Republican. So the Republicans control the Senate. And the House of Representatives, there's still some more to be called, but from what it seems like, it should be going red. And if it doesn't go red, then it will still have a decent number of Republican votes. So if they can work a little bit with the Democrats, they can get some of the people on the other side of the aisle to work with them and potentially get the policies that they want to get passed. But Donald Trump officially is the next president of the United States of America. And there you go. That's what we got going on. So what does this mean for markets? Well, I don't know if you guys looked at your brokerage just now, but we saw this pretty much last night, basically by like, honestly, by the time Trump had won, call it 7 to 8 states, and he was leading in 4 out of 5 of the swing states, markets started going up. Bitcoin started going up, DJT started going up, Palantir started going up, MicroStrategy started going, everything started going up. Tesla obviously started going up. And that's when you could kind of get the feeling that the market was getting ready to like really price in a Trump victory. And then by the end of the night, the market really priced in a Trump victory. So Bitcoin was 75,000. Right now it's at 73,872, which is good. It's not at all-time highs again, but it was at that level. But then take a look at some of these equities. So first of all, Palantir, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, I don't know what to say. Palantir, it was a big deal yesterday that we got to 50. It was a bigger deal that we closed above 50 at 51. We don't really get to celebrate 52, and we don't get to celebrate going from 52 to 53 because we're just at 53 in the pre-markets. Now, I don't know if that's going to hold. We'll see what happens when the market opens, but pre-markets were up another 5% on Palantir, 4.3%, $53.36. Last night, we got to $54.70, $54.91. So is there a world that we go to 60? Is there that world that happens? I mean, I can see that world happening at this point. I don't know if it necessarily makes sense, but I see that world happening, and then maybe it could take place. So $53.35 right now on Palantir, up about 4.36%. Palantir obviously loving this price action by Trump winning. DJT up 27%. Trump's company That one is up as a sort of call option on Trump winning. SMCI, unfortunately, a Trump victory could not save them. SMCI published some results yesterday, preliminary guidance. They said, we had an investigation. There's nothing wrong with our company. We don't know why Ernst & Young left. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense because there's a reason the consulting firm left. So down 16% right here. The market, A, didn't like the results because the results actually had lower guidance than what the market expected. B, there's really no clarity on who's auditing these guys. And they still haven't filed their 10K. So because they don't have a firm that can actually do their accounting right now. So this one's still going to be a little bit of a story, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this one get hit even further. The fact that no one's buying the dip in the pre-market also tells me that people are losing a lot of faith right now in SMCI. Enphase, okay, so this is news to me. I'm just waking up to see this. Down 13%. So Harris is not president, and because Harris is not president, the solar trade is not dead, but it's definitely not reinvigorated, and so you got Enphase that is down. Sofi, $12.19. I think we hold above 12. Last night we reached $12.50. I love it. SoFi deserves to get this momentum. Financials are going to get a tailwind in 2025 under a Trump presidency, especially if we get more liquidity into the system, which is what Noto has explicitly said would happen under a Republican administration. And so seems like that should be good for SoFi. SoFi right here up about 6.83%. Celsius did have earnings. They are down 6.4%. Celsius missed on EPS and missed on revenue. Now Celsius is at 29.68, but they were just here like a week ago. So I don't think the down 6% is price action that we haven't seen before, but it is down 6% right now based on their earnings. The cruise lines are up about 3%. You got Carnival up 5%, Royal Caribbean up 3%, Norwegian up 3%. Tesla is up 12%. Tesla $280. It is up significantly from those 130 lows, and maybe there is a real shot that it hits 300 this year on any other good news that Elon Musk puts out. Elon, we'll talk more about what he was tweeting last night, but Elon was with Trump the entire night, and he was very, very happy that Trump ended up winning. The biggest takeaway I got from Elon, and I'll go deeper into this later, he had this tweet, and he said, "You are the media." And I think this election was a referendum on mainstream media versus independent media, because Trump went independent in terms of podcasts and Kamala went through CBS and CNN. And I think a lot of the American public are waking up to like, wait a second, we can't just believe what the corporations want us to believe. And on Twitter, it's harder because it's a wild, wild west, but there's a little bit more free speech, even though it is more wild. And so you got Tesla right here at 282. It's going to benefit Twitter. It's going to benefit SpaceX. You're probably going to benefit Tesla. Elon probably has some deals with Trump that he's working on in the background to create just more wealth and prosperity for his different companies, which obviously will help shareholders because those companies probably have deals to help the United States. So I think there's a lot of momentum for Tesla right here now that Trump wins. And Elon has his best friend in the White House. And if he has his best friend in the White House, I mean, that's just naturally bullish, you would imagine. If, for example, Elon wants to get FSC regulations passed, because Donald Trump's not going to forget what Elon did for him in this election. Elon really put a lot of effort behind him. So very bullish for Tesla. Tesla right here up about 11.8%. Dell is up 2.3%. Boeing's up 1%. Robinhood is up 10%, $27.55. I think $28.50 was the high before the earnings fall. So looking like it's kind of getting back to those levels, which is really nice for Robinhood. Reddit is up 1.4%. Rocket Lab is up 3.73%. Rocket Lab, $12.25. Apple, flat, but still green on the day. Lockheed Martin is up 3%. S&P 500's at 588.47. S&P 500 at a new 52-week high and all-time high in the pre-markets. HIMS is up 3%. NVIDIA is up 1.4% at $141.90. Now, TSM is down. That makes sense because Trump has issues with Taiwan, but I would imagine all the semis potentially get a tailwind if NVIDIA continues to do well, and NVIDIA potentially will do well because Trump is now the president. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? The market right now is reacting pretty positively to this. I don't know if that means that a Trump presidency guarantees there's going to be some phenomenal Bitcoin right here, 73,900, some phenomenal renaissance in terms of stock market appreciation and gains. But the market is acting like that's going to happen. And so although I obviously can't say with 100% certainty, well, Trump wins, therefore the next 4 years are going to be crazy for the market. That's what the market's pricing in. Oh, here's one I didn't show you guys. Let's see if this one is still up right here. This I couldn't believe last night. I don't know if you guys saw this bad boy. IWM. Look at that, bro. 236.94. Tom Lee has been screaming about IWM for the better part of a year now, and a Trump presidency is what has finally taken IWM past 228, which you couldn't get past for the past 7 months. And now you're up 6%. Small caps are up. Also, we have rate cuts coming tomorrow. So you got rate cuts coming tomorrow. You got a Trump presidency coming in. You probably got lowering of tax cuts that are going to be passed, or the extension of tax cuts, potentially even lower tax cuts are coming down the way. That's really good for small caps and for overall corporate enterprises. So, I mean, it's one of those things. Seeing IWM past 237 is the market really saying we believe that this administration is going to have some issues, which is why you see the 10 years spiking up right now. But we don't think it's going to have issues that are necessarily going to be catastrophic. And that's why we are giving equities the benefit, and we are buying up stocks. Palantir at 53 doesn't feel real. Dude, imagine, last night we saw Palantir blast through 52. 5 minutes later, like, I don't even know if it was 5 minutes later, but then it just blasted through 53. And then it blasted through 54. And then before we ended the night, we were like 20 cents away from going to 55. So, yeah, at 53, I agree. It doesn't feel real, but that's what you have right now as the market is pricing in a Trump victory and liking it for Palantir. Doug says IWM 4th largest ever gap up. Wow. Because of a Trump victory. Because of a Trump victory. Grinders at 1450. Really? Is it? I knew I should have bought this damn stock at 12. Yeah, Grinders at 1450, bro. Goodness gracious. Yeah, so it is pretty wild. All right, so what are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking in the chat? How did you guys wake up? Were you sad when you woke up? Were you kind of like happy? I mean, like, how was did you guys find out last night, or I know a lot of you overseas probably woke up to this news. What was your instant reaction? I'm very, very curious to see kind of how people thought of this. TLT is down 3%. Yeah, so the 10 years being sold off right now. Obviously, they're expecting a bit more inflation under Trump, which is why this 10 years is getting sold off. That is not good for TLT. If Kamala won, TLT probably would be higher right now. Yeah, TLT down 3.2%. But I think the far majority of people believe that over the long term, Trump's policies won't be that inflationary, which means the 10 years should come back down to normal and stocks and should end up being okay. Iceman J just said, my wife is pissed and I'm just happy Palantir is printing. I think that's kind of emblematic of a lot of people in this election, where they had family members that voted for Harris for whatever type of moral reasons, or just they hated Trump or whatever, and you had other people say, but honey, like this portfolio, like if I don't think Palantir would be pushing 55 right now, and IWM would be pushing 240 if Harris won. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I don't know. It seems like that type of like real momentum comes from the market feeling there is going to be more liquidity, and from the market feeling that there's going to be deregulation. You're going to have a lot more houses being built. We're not going to give $25,000 to new home buyers, but we're going to deregulate the crap out of the housing market, and you're going to have tons of new inventory. At least that's the theoretical thing that the market believes will happen under this administration. So there's so many other policies that the market believes are going to be good for overall growth at the end of the day. Not gonna lie, we are very selfish thinking about just our portfolio here. Look, that's fair, but it also is important to remember that our portfolio is a manifestation of the economy, and the economy is the basis of everything. If the economy sucks, and I think, what's really interesting, I think the reason Trump won by 5 million in the popular vote, which Republicans don't usually do, is because people care less about abortion and less about the sort of cultural, social issues that Kamala has been talking about, less about the idea of comparing Trump to like the most evil people in the world, and they care more about the economy. And when you have inflation at 40-year highs, and when you have a housing market that seems unaffordable to the average American, when you have used cars that are more than the highest new car from 4 years ago in terms of pricing because of how inflation has affected that market, like you just get people that vote with their wallets. And that is the referendum that I think the American people have given to Donald Trump. And that's what the market's pricing in as well. It also brings up a lot of questions. What does this mean from Ukraine? What does this mean for Israel? What does this mean for foreign spending? What does this mean for potentially new wars or not any new wars. I mean, there's all these questions the market has to price in right now, but it seems like this is what at least the United States has decided they want to get. It is pretty incredible that Trump won in 2016, lost in 2020, and has come back. It's like he gave us a presidency. America rejected it in 2020 by 11,000 votes in Georgia. And then America was like, no, we got to bring him back. I mean, dude, this victory was decisive. And I think that's the thing about it. This is the other thing I'm really happy about. Regardless of if it was Trump or Harris, it was a decisive victory. And if it was Harris, I would have hoped it was a decisive victory as well, because there is no sort of contestation of the result. And there's also no way anyone can feel that it is so close to call, because this is a big margin of victory. And at the end of the day, if we believe in democracy, we have to believe in the 71 million people that voted for the most evil person on the planet, in the words of Kamala Harris. And we have to admit that maybe he's not the most evil person on the planet. Maybe 71 million people are not, horrible, deplorable pieces of garbage. And maybe they are saying that they don't believe in a lot of these ideas that Kamala has been touting. Now, I also think we all have to acknowledge she wasn't the best candidate. Like, we can all acknowledge she just wasn't the best candidate. I think even if you're the biggest Democrat of Democrats, she was not the best candidate. And her message ultimately was not able to resonate with the far majority of Americans, which is why Trump ended up winning. And it seems like that's kind of the broader argument for how we're seeing this market go up right now. Let's see what else people are saying right here. Daryl says he's happy as hell. Enphase is dumping because if Trump is in office, then oil will be drilled oil will be drilled, which means oil prices will go down, which means solar is going to be less attractive for people to be able to buy. Sachin says, my circle in Malaysia, Singapore, and India is confused why I am hooked so much on the U.S. presidential election. Yeah, it's because you got a bunch of money here, Sachin, especially in that Sofi. So this election was very important for a lot of foreign investors, even if they were in the United States. Woody Trades, thank you for the $5 super chat. I voted for Kamala, but this is America, and he is the next president, and he has my full support, and hope he does a good job. Go America and go Palantir. I also hope that is the overwhelming assessment of people that voted for Kamala, which is that ultimately they embrace the new president in a democratic fashion, because that is the nature of democracy. It is funny, from my understanding, Kamala Harris didn't call him up last night and concede, because if she did, Trump would have mentioned it in his victory speech. And it was pretty sad last night, dude. Like, she didn't even address her supporters. She was at Howard University, and she had a spokesperson come out for her, and he's told everyone to basically go home, but like, we're not conceding. And it was really sad, because if you had looked at any of the polling data, it was like, okay, no. She's like, Trump's about to win Georgia and Pennsylvania. There's really no way she comes back once that happens. He won North Carolina, which kind of sealed the deal, because that was one of the big swing states outside of Pennsylvania. And after that, it's like they would have to win everything just for it to be tied at 268, especially because Trump also took Wisconsin and Michigan. He got rid of the blue wall, essentially. He did what he did in 2016 by getting North Carolina out of the way, and then getting these two, Wisconsin and Michigan. I mean, that was it. She needed to win those two for there to even be a chance. So the fact that she was losing those two and didn't officially concede last night, it was tough for Harris supporters, because, she didn't even address the crowd. And I was up till 4 a.m. CNN did not call the election until 5 a.m. It was 4 a.m. and I was watching them, and they were still looking on try to call on how to like see if she had a path to victory. And that's when I think it was like, all right, so this is just coping at this point. Like, it's over. And a lot of people were not able to realize that night, but it is absolutely over at this point. Sachin says, I am Indian, and there's nothing about her that makes me relate to her as an Indian. To be honest, she gives me creepy vibes. I just went to India, and I asked the same thing to my uncles and cousins. I was like, what do you think about Kamala? And they're like, dude, she says she's Indian, but like, she never talks to us. She never embraces us. She hasn't come to India. She doesn't like engage with the Indian community, but the black side of her, she fully engages that. And I think that goes back to the chameleon aspect of Kamala Harris, in terms of she's one thing here, she's one thing there. She just wasn't the best candidate, I think, is what the Democrats, and that's not me saying it. That's pretty much every top Democratic strategist last night having to agree with the fact that she just wasn't the candidate that could beat a Trump-like social movement And again, bro, she did not do Joe Rogan. She did not do Theo Vaughn. She did not do the All In podcast. She did a 60 minutes edited interview where people could obviously tell that they cut certain parts out of it to make it seem a little bit better than what it was. And even then, it just wasn't a good interview. And I think the American people are tired of this, dude. Like, I think the American people are absolutely tired of being lied to. I think one of the most objective things everyone can agree on is this whole Liz Cheney getting shot comment the other day, where Trump didn't say Liz Cheney should get shot. Trump said, you know, if she wants to send people into war, she should go out to war herself and see what it feels like. And the media quite literally painted that as Trump says Liz Cheney should get shot. And it's like, but he didn't say that. Like, we know, like, you're lying to us in front of us. You are lying to us. That is not true. And the more that happens, and I think this election woke up a lot of people, the more people are going to be like, you know what? Let me go to Twitter and see what's happening. And let me decide for myself. Let me go listen to the All In podcast. And are there some biases here? Sure. But let me find new perspectives. Let me go listen to Joe Rogan, who's just a curious guy who just wants to talk for 3 hours. But if you're not willing to talk to him for 3 hours, how are you willing to be the president of the United States of America? I think this election was a referendum on the mainstream media. I mean, my stream last night, thank you for everyone who was there, but we had about 1,500 people for 8 hours with me. And I know that's small in comparison to the giant media networks, but the fact that 1,500 people took time out of their life to get perspectives from regular people that were biased towards the stock market, but outside of that, we don't really have an agenda to push, versus the mainstream media, it is quite incredible. People are finding different avenues of consuming content. And that is going to be the way the 2028 election goes down. But we're going to have to see just how differently the media landscape is over the next 5 years. And it seems like it is changing away from the mainstream media. So as a result of that, it looks like the markets have priced in a Trump victory, and they're pricing in a really strong Trump presidency. We got 3 minutes until the market opens, folks. I think we hold this gain that we're seeing today. Do we get somewhat of a sell-off? Maybe. I think we'll get somewhat of a sell-off, but overall, Bitcoin right here, 74,000. I think the markets are really happy for this. Look at Tesla up 13% right here. And, now it's up to Trump to govern in the way that he said he would govern. But if he even kind of lives up to some of the promises that he talked about, I think we're going to have stock market reflect a lot of momentum, and we're seeing that already so far in the pre-markets. Rocket Lab target raised to 13 from 7 at Citi. Okay, that's awesome. So Rocket Lab should be getting some momentum today as well. Are you buying anything on momentum? No, I'm going to I want to see how things play out today. I'm not deploying any capital here. I'm just very curious kind of how the market opens up and interprets this. And ultimately, how they price this in. But at this point, I have positions and I'm trying to end out the year right. And so now we kind of see, I mean, get Trump winning was a big part of like the stock market having the sort of end of year rally that would be meaningful enough to kind of cap off a really good 2024. And as you guys can see in the pre-markets, the results are here so far. I don't expect all these gains to necessarily stay, at least not in the short term. And there's probably going to be some people that take profits. But the market is overwhelmingly happy that Donald Trump has won this election. 500 million contracts were traded on Robinhood. So they made $5 million in the past week, guys. So $5 million to the bottom line for Q4 earnings is going to Robinhood just based off this contract. The betting markets last night also were a decent proxy at trying to figure out who's winning, just in terms of how quickly the odds are moving up and down. But I'm excited for the future of those platforms and what they're going to mean to the election. And also, obviously what it'll mean for Robinhood, given they can probably introduce other verticals in that specific niche. All right, here we go. It is Wednesday, November 6th, 9:30 a.m. Donald Trump is the new president of the United States of America, and the stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Palantir, $51.87. We were just below that 52 level, up 1.66% on the day, right back at 52.30, up 2.3% on the day. That bell ringing not only counts for the market open, but it also counts for passing 52, because we always ring the bell when we pass a new level. So we passed 52, $52.50 for Palantir, absolutely incredible right now. We'll go back to Palantir in a second. Let's see how the rest of the market is doing. IWM opens up 5.3%, 235 on small caps. You've got Ethereum at 2,600. You've got Bitcoin at 74,400. DJT opens up about 24%. SMCI is down 21%. A Trump presidency could not save SMCI. Amazon at $200. SoFi at 1213. New 52-week high for SoFi, up about 6.22%. You got Carnival Cruise up 6% on the day. Tesla up 12.72% at 283. Dell up 2.77%. The Qs are at 500, up 1.73%. Rocket Lab 1256. Reddit 123. Robinhood up 10% on the day at $27.50. S&P 500 at 588. New all-time high. S&P 500 up 2% on the day. Nvidia $1 away from all-time highs at 143, up 2.25%. Hims is up 5.6%. GameStop is up 1% on the day. Starbucks is up 0.53%. PayPal up 2.4%. Salesforce at $300. Salesforce went to 212 on the dip 7 months ago, right back to that 303 level. Currently, Affirm's at $48, up 7%. Google's at 174, up 2.78%. Where is Palantir? Palantir, $52.99. Are we breaking 53? Are we breaking 53? Yep, we broke 53. Ladies and gentlemen, Palantir now $53. $53.18, up 4% on the day for Palantir. Just incredible. Robinhood is at 27.42, up about 9.79% right now. Let's go to the Mag 7. Meta's down. Weird. Why is Meta down? That is weird. Why is Meta down? Meta's the only one that's down. Microsoft's up, Apple's up, Google's up, Amazon's up, Nvidia's up, and obviously Tesla. Oh my gosh, Tesla is looking like it wants 290, 286.50. Does anyone have a theory on why Meta's down? That is weird. That is very weird. I don't know how Trump is bearish for Meta. That's weird. Tesla 286.93 right now. Where's Enphase? Enphase. Oh my God. Oh my, it's down 16%. Holy freaking crap. What are the other Kamala stocks that we can look at, or Kamala trades that could be down? So Enphase is down 16%. SolarEdge probably is down. SolarEdge is down 13%. Oil should be up. XLE is up right now. Yeah, oil is up 2.9%. So oil stocks are up. Robinhood 27.56, up 10.4%. Palantir 53.40, up 4.4%. And then Bitcoin 74,448. Weed stocks. Oh yeah, Florida banned recreational marijuana. What's a weed stock? What's the name of a weed stock? What's the weed ETF? MSOS. Yeah, MSOS. That one should be down, right? MSOS. Yeah, that one's down 25%. Yeah, that's bad. I don't know if Trump is super bullish for weed either. So weed and solar is down right now. Where is Celsius? Celsius down 9.8%. We'll get the numbers on Celsius in a bit. I saw them very briefly when I woke up late this morning. I didn't think those numbers were that bad, to be honest, but it looks like the market doesn't like it right now. SMCI is down 20%. Yeah, SMCI, again, their numbers yesterday, not only were the numbers bad, but they didn't clear up the problems with the auditing firm. So SMCI makes sense that one is getting hit right now, down 20%. Palantir looks like it wants 54, folks, up 5.2%. Some people may be saying, why is Palantir surging 5% right now? Market cap of Palantir now is $120 billion. The reason that I would go with today is that JD Vance is cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching for Palantir. We got to remember, JD Vance and Peter Thiel are like best friends. And your best friend is now the VP of the United States of America. I mean, there is an argument, folks. And look, here's the thing. We were talking about this last night. Palantir should be playing a big role in the broader federal government. Oh, we hit 54. We hit 54. Palantir could be playing a much broader role in the federal government. I mean, imagine if the inflation and jobs data was tracked via Palantir, right? Via Foundry, via the data aggregation system of Foundry and AIP on top of that, so that like the BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, doesn't have to revise the job numbers every single month because they have more accurate data, or the revisions could have a plus minus of 2% in terms of error rate. Like, there are so many ways you could imagine Palantir infiltrating the government and helping in all different ways. They're growing government revenue right now 40% in the US. if you got one of your best friends as VP in the White House, I mean, there's an argument where, you know, he says, hey, why don't we just have Palantir solve some of these issues? So Palantir right here at $54.10. I think that's what the market's pricing in. That doesn't mean that has to happen, but this stock is up 6% on the day. Folks, we were at $40 on Monday. It's at $54.07. $120 billion market cap. Palantir is more valuable than Starbucks, Boeing, and Nike at $53.80. Where's Hood? Hood is at $27.11, up 8.69%. SoFi, where is SoFi? SoFi. Okay, SoFi just fell below 12, but it was holding above 12 for a bit. SoFi, yeah, SoFi still $11.99 right now on the day. Grinder at $14. IWM holding at $235. Palantir again right at that $53.99, $54 level. The cruise lines are up. Wow, look at Carnival, 7.5%. Royal Caribbean, 6.5%. Norwegian, 5.65%. Cruise lines are getting a lot of love right now. DJT got halted. No, DJT is not halted yet, but it's up 22%. Bitcoin is also trying to make a run to 75. We did hit 75 last night, 74.6 right now. So I think there's a good shot we can get there. Adam says, thank you to Robinhood, $500,000 in profits. I sold and took profits, still got many more positions, but cleared 500K. Congrats. $500,000 is a lot of money from one stock. So congratulations to you, Adam. That is incredible. Where is MicroStrategy as well? That one, wow, 13%. New all-time high for MicroStrategy, 258. 258 for MicroStrategy. S&P's at 590. Really? Did we get there? We are very close. We got there in the pre-markets. We are very close. 588.35, up 2% on the day. I think the biggest day in the stock market this year was like 2.4% on the S&P. So this is on track to be the second largest day or third largest day in 2024 for the stock market after a Trump victory. Pretty incredible. Oh, TJ, the wheel deal. Oh, I got to text him. He's probably not even awake right now. Text me the portfolio screeny. Let's see. This is what he said last night. I mean, last night TJ was at 10.1 million. I think TJ's up more right now. So that's pretty incredible, dude. TJ, good friend of the channel, and very, very happy for him. But he is getting a decent amount of momentum in his portfolio. He had a big position. He had $1 million cash secured put on Riot at 850. Riot is at 1088. It looks like he's going to be able to close out that position. It's expiring in a couple of days and be able to collect that good premium as well. Tesla 290. Are we at 290 on Tesla? Are we at 290? Yeah, look at that. 288. We're getting up there. 14%, folks. Tesla is $75 billion away from being a $1 trillion company. I believe 315 is the price for $1 trillion. We are at $925 billion on Tesla. This looks like it's going to be Elon Musk's world coming into the next 4 years, and he is going to have a lot of control. DJT is halted right now to be able to enact the type of change that he wants to enact. And if Trump really does give him a position to oversee the efficiency of the government and potentially make changes internally, and he actually has the ability to like make changes and like figure out how policies are enacted and software is procured and contracts get awarded to defense contractors, Boeing, etc. There's going to be a lot of changes coming, and I think SpaceX can easily get to $1 trillion over the next 4 years. Right now, it's at about $300 billion. Not only is SpaceX growing, but now if you've got Elon in bed with the government in a way that actually helps the government because they're procuring in a way that's not discriminatory, there's a real shot for Tesla and SpaceX to do well. Where's Nvidia? Wow, Nvidia new all-time high, 144.6. Holy crap. Nvidia is now 3.55 trillion. Apple is 3.39. Apple's getting left behind here. Apple's legitimately getting left behind right now. 3.39 trillion on Apple. Apple would have to go up at least 2 to 3% to catch up with Nvidia, or unless Nvidia falls 2 to 3%. But as of today, Nvidia is looking like it wants 145, 3.54 trillion on Nvidia. Palantir is 54. Yes, Palantir should be 54. Where are we at on Palantir? Robinhood 27.27. Palantir just under 54, 53.98. up 5.6%. Now, look, this is the crazy thing about Palantir. Let's say Palantir ends out the day at 54. And we start normalizing the 50s. A dip, let's just say 54, 55 is where it settles in terms of like consolidation. A dip to 50 would be like a real dip, 54 to 50. I mean, that's not a crazy dip, but that's a real dip. And so a dip to 45 would be like a legit dip from 55 to 45. And then going back to 40 would be like, all right, people are really going to start buying. Because if you get a discount of $15 on a stock, theoretically, more people start to jump in. I mean, does this thing even see 30 again? Right? Like the type of market correction you would need to get back into the 30s is over 50% at this point. And I'm not saying that can't happen. Obviously, the valuation at $120 billion, I can't fully defend it from a numerical basis. I have given you guys all the qualitative justifications I can to make the argument for why Palantir should be worth $120 billion. I really can't give you a numerical argument outside of them growing even more. But it's got to be way more than 30%, right? 30% growth is great, but it's got to get closer to 40, 45% to really break down those numbers. But maybe Palantir just stays expensive forever. Maybe we just have to accept that. That just might be the fate with Palantir. Unless 2025, we have a massive correction across the market, which, theoretically could happen. In general, stocks get corrected every year to some extent. But if the correction is back to 45 or even 40 or 38, that's not the dip that people wanted into the 30s or 27s anymore, And so it seems like that might end up happening with Palantir. Palantir right here, 54.05. Celsius still down about 5%, getting a little bit of recovery. Sofi trying to get back to $12, $11.94 right now. S&P 588, MicroStrategy 258, Tesla 287, Nvidia 144, Apple 224. Cruise lines again are killing it. All of them up almost 5 to 7% on the day. Carnival Cruise here at $24. Lockheed Martin now turns red. Hims is up 7%. They had a really good earnings as well, growing about 70% year over year. So they're up 7% right now. I still don't get why Meta's down. Does anyone know why Meta's down? I still don't get it. Let me check resistance on Tesla. Let me check Tesla. All right, at 290, Tesla's resistance is at 290. We are looking at 329,531 shares. All right, so we're gonna have to get a decent amount of Tesla to get purchased for Tesla to break through 290, but it is trying right here. Currently at 287. Zuck supported Kamala. So here's the thing, okay? I got a text the other week, and you guys can believe it or not believe it. I fully can't verify if it is true. I got a text from a really good friend who is connected into the Zuck ecosystem via another really good friend. Again, I know I'm making a lot of assumptions here. Again, believe it or not believe it. But that really good friend told me that he was talking to his connect inside of the Zuckerberg family and that Zuck voted for Trump. I never said this publicly because obviously, I can't really reveal any sources or anything like that. And theoretically, I could be making this up. But I did get a text message from a pretty good source of mine that is well connected to a friend who is well connected into the Zuckerberg ecosystem that said Zuckerberg was going to vote for Kamala. And then someone talked to him who is very influential that we all know. And they said that Zuck ended up voting for Trump. And honestly, I could believe that, given Zuck has been a lot more, a lot more just like libertarian in terms of his approach. He didn't explicitly endorse Kamala, so Facebook didn't, give money to her. So it's kind of one of those things where you could imagine, he probably wants lower tax rates as well. His persona has changed over the years. You could make an argument that he potentially voted for Trump. So I don't think that's the reason why Facebook is down. I think there has to be something else going on. Again, I know it sounds like I'm reaching right now, but this is just the text I got a couple weeks ago, and I could see a world where Zuck's definitely voted for Trump, especially because Zuck's is acting more like Elon. He's not as politically out there, but same thing as Bezos, right? Exactly, right? Like Bezos didn't let the Washington Post endorse Harris 2 hours before they were set to publish the article. I mean, all these billionaires want lower taxes. It's not that complicated. I had a theory a couple of weeks ago where I said, I think Tim Cook voted for Trump because Trump told the story about Tim Cook calling him up and saying, hey, can you do anything about this $15 billion tax that the European Union is trying to impose on us? And Trump was like, hey, I got to get elected first, but I'm going to try to do my best to protect you guys. I think all these billionaires, they don't give a shit about these social issues. They say they do because it makes people feel good. And then you don't feel bad buying $500 AirPods from Apple, knowing that they were made for $200 using child labor in China. But these guys want lower taxes, and they probably voted their interest when it comes to lower taxes. Robinhood right here, 27.40 up 9.8%. IWM at 234. Palantir at $54. Ethereum at 2,600. Where is Bitcoin? The Qs, by the way, 501. We haven't seen that in about 7 months right here on the Qs. Bitcoin, 74,220 right now on the day. Enphase is down 12% right now. Yeah. Yeah, I still, oh no, Enphase is down 19% now. I still don't get why Meta's down, dude. I don't think it's, and even if Zucks did vote for Kamala, that can't be a reason why Meta is down. Like, the market is not going to punish Meta for that. I think election spending is a tailwind for Q3, and they already had their quarter. They crushed it, had their highest net income ever. I am really surprised why Meta is getting hit on this. Like, I think the market's perceiving Trump as passing some type of social media regulation that would be bad for Meta. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. AMD, where's AMD? AMD is up slightly on the day, down a little bit from 145. It's not performing like NVIDIA right here. Let's look at all the semis. All the semis are green except SMCI, ASML, and Taiwan Semi, which makes sense. ASML is in the Netherlands. TSM is in Taiwan. And then SMCI has accounting issues. SMCI now down 20. SMCI is about to go below $20, bro. This is going to be like a... Could you imagine if this is a $15 stock after being a $125 stock in March? That's how wild 2025 or 2024 has been. Absolutely insane. Fidelity's down. Oh boy. Maybe they're getting so much business right now. People are trading so much. They're having server issues. Robinhood's working fine for me right now. No issues on Robinhood. Those SoFi options we have, folks, are up 157%. They're at 90 cents right now. We got them at 35 cents. I think I'm just going to let them run. Seems like end of the year should still be very bullish for SoFi. And let those play out. Schwab is fine. Yeah, my Fidelity is not working. Okay, so it seems like Fidelity is having some issues. That's weird. I guess they're getting too many people that are logging. You're getting too many. You got a lot of people logging in to see their 401ks this morning, bro. That's the thing. If you voted for Harris, but you're like super upset that Harris won, and then you log into your 401k, I mean, dude, like, are you gonna be that upset if Trump won? It's one of those things, bro. It's one of those things. I got to see how my sister feels. My sister voted for Harris because she she just didn't like the demeanor of Trump. But her brokerage is looking like she probably loves Trump right now. I told her that. I was like, I'm just telling you, your brokerage is if Trump wins objectively, your stocks are probably going to go up. She's like, I don't care. He's a bad person. I'm like, all right. I'm curious just how she feels today. I gotta talk to her. How is she feeling today? Because now she's getting more into money, right? Because she's getting older, and I'm helping her with the stock market and all this stuff. And when she sees her stocks go up, she gets happy. She gets excited. She's like, "Oh, look, I'm up $3,000 today." I'm like, "Yeah, now she's up probably. I don't know how much she's up today, but she's probably up a decent amount because of this market being up." Why is First Solar down? First Solar is down because Enphase is down, and First Solar obviously is about solar energy. And there's going to be less demand for solar energy if you drill, baby, drill, because oil prices will go down. Wow, First Solar is down 20%. Enphase is down 19%. And Solar Edge is down 19.3%. Solar was just not what people thought it was going to be, dude. I mean, like, maybe over the next 10 years, solar turns out, but let's assume over the next 4 years, solar doesn't work in terms of just like the regulatory sentiment and the overall prices of oil that are coming down, which makes it just not easy to get excited about something like solar panels or Enphase. I mean, for the next 4 years, if this thing underperforms, then if you have a decade-long thesis on this, it's going to take a while. And then what if Republicans win again in 2020 and they keep drilling? I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's just, I think a lot of people are questioning their long-term thesis on this. And that's why you're seeing this 20% dump right now. Because a lot of people are saying, well, what really is the moat of solar over the long term? And I think solar penetration will increase over the next, 10, 20 years. It's just, is it the best stock given the opportunity cost over the next 5 years? Not sure. And maybe it is, but as of now, the market is saying that they don't believe that it's going to have a ton of momentum. All right, things are getting a little bit of red candles right here. Apple just went red. Tesla's at 284. Nvidia's at 142. So we're seeing things fall down a little bit. Robinhood at 27.17. Palantir right back down to 53.72. So you're getting about a 950 dip across the entire market. We're seeing people take some profits right here, which is very fair. S&P 500, look at that, 586 from 588. So you're getting some red candles. And we will see if that reverses or if that continues and people take more and more profits. I wonder what ARK's logic is on selling Palantir daily this week, seeing how it's running. I have a theory that ARK is liquidating either 50 to 70% of their position in Palantir or maybe 100%. ARK has been selling almost 200,000 shares of Palantir for the past week daily. They're going to run out of shares to sell pretty soon because they're not going to have any more shares. So unless they stop selling like within the next couple of days and it just chills out, I think they're going to get rid of their Palantir. And I don't think it's because they're not bullish on Palantir. I think it's just valuation. I think they're looking at this and they're just like, we don't think the valuation can be supported right here. And, they can make that argument. That is a fair argument if they want to make it. But it does feel, remember, ARK has like a $12 average or a $15 average. So this is one of the only winners Kathy has in her portfolio outside of Tesla. Personally, if I was running ARK, I would say, hey, let's just keep it because we got a lot of other shit that's not working. So maybe we just let Palantir and Tesla carry the portfolio at least. But it looks like she's taking profits here. And the reason for that is because what else do you allocate it to, right? Like if you sell a Palantir, it's not that I'm not saying Palantir is not worth taking some profits at 53. I'm just saying, well, where do you put the money? Like what else is the best opportunity outside of Palantir that you believe is a generational investment that can have the potential that Palantir has? Maybe Tesla, but they already have a ton of Tesla. They're not going to buy Nvidia. I mean, she's buying a ton of Amazon and Meta every day. And that's just confusing to me because why are you buying Mag 7 stocks that are up a lot over the past 3 years at, 52-week highs? I just don't know where she's going to put the money. Oh, she also sold 200,000 shares of Sofi yesterday. She sold 200,000 shares of Sofi as well. Sofi right here up 3%, 1185 currently right now. Oh, now it makes sense why Meta's down. Yeah, Digger, I see your comment right here. Yeah, I forgot. He's going to reverse the TikTok ban. Remember? So Jeffrey Yass, who is the chairman of Susquehanna Group, who has a net worth of $28 billion, 21 out of those $28 billion are in ByteDance stock, aka TikTok, which, by the way, reported 70% revenue growth year over year yesterday. So TikTok is growing like crazy, even if, the United States is trying to ban it. And Jeffrey Yass donated a lot to the Trump campaign, but also he was one of the third largest shareholders of DJT, which was essentially an indirect way of giving Trump a ton of money by buying his social media company and propping it up in case Trump needed to sell if he needed more campaign funding. So one could make the argument that if Trump gets rid of that whole TikTok ban, then that means that, Meta just has more competition. Now, is that super bearish for Meta? Not really, because TikTok's been around for the past 5 years and Meta's been fine. But it does mean more of those eyeballs that they thought they were going to get, they're not going to get it. And it might end up continuing to stay with TikTok. E-Trade is down as well. Is E-Trade down for you guys? E-Trade and Fidelity seems like people are having some issues with. Schwab and Hood seem to be okay. Fidelity is still down. Wow, dude. Everyone's checking their brokerage this morning, bro. Holy crap. It seems like people are waking up and they're logging in. E-Trade is up, but the app is down. Benny says, Amit, people just think X will thrive more than Meta with Elon and Trump partnering up. I mean, maybe, but again, guys, X is a long way to go from competing with Meta. Like X barely has 500 million users, and I love X. I use it all day, but it's not on the same ballpark as Instagram or Meta. But TikTok is like really competing hard with Meta. I think that's more of the reason. But I do think Twitter will become more important over the next 5 years. I don't know if it'll take away that much market share from Meta, but it will become more important as mainstream media loses a lot more value. E-Trade and Fidelity both are down. Some people say My Fidelity is working. Yeah, it looks like Schwab and Hood are doing okay today. It just seems like, yeah, it seems like too much volume. People are logging into their apps. People are trying to see what's happening. Okay, let's look at the China trade. What's going on with China? FXI. Whoa, down 3%. Okay, so FXI is down 3%. BABA is down 3%. NEO is down 5%. JD is down 4.3%. And Baidu is down 1.53%. All right, so China went super red. Why did China go red? Because Trump wants to launch a ton of tariffs. Also, the China stimulus that they launched a month ago, a lot of it might be deterred in terms of its efficiency by tariffs. So they might have to do more stimulus, and they haven't done more stimulus, which is why the markets have been kind of upset at China. And so that's why you're seeing the China trade kind of go south right here as FXI goes down 3.3%. Rivian's down 8%. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it is quite phenomenal that, look at that, Rivian below 10. Tesla's up, even though Trump basically has said he'll get rid of the EV tax credit. Now, again, Elon said that's okay for Tesla because the other guys will die off and then Tesla will be the only one left. However, I think that EV tax credit still is very, very valuable in terms of incentivizing people. So the fact that Tesla is up, even though it seems like that $7,500 tax credit is going away, theoretically, maybe Elon gets Trump to not do that, and the other EVs are down, just means the market is putting a major source of emphasis on Trump and Elon's personal relationship as the tailwind for Tesla stock. Because if not, the tax credit going away is not necessarily bullish. Now, it's bearish for the other guys, which might be bullish for Tesla. So that may be an indirect way why the market's thinking that's bullish for Tesla. But you got Tesla right here at 277, purely based off this Trump victory right now. Jamie Dimon has no plans to take a role in the Trump administration, set to remain at bank. I am also very curious. Let's look at JP Morgan right now. JP Morgan, 239, up 8%. JP Morgan, is Jamie Dimon that mad that Trump won? His stock's up 8% right now. I mean, a lot of these business leaders that endorsed Harris, at the end of the day, a lot of them do care about their money. And so I think they're seeing these stocks right now, and they're trying to come to a conclusion in terms of what this administration could be like over the next 5 years. Palantir right here at 53. So Palantir getting down from 54 to 53. We're seeing the entire market take a little bit of a hit. S&P 500 at 585 as well. Robinhood at 2711. So people taking some profits right here. What's going to be really important is who Trump puts in his cabinet, because now we're going to have to find out who he actually selects as the people to help govern the country. The types of people he picks, if he fires Gary Gensler, which I imagine is probably going to happen, if he puts people who care about technology and cryptocurrencies into the cabinet that are more tech-oriented, finance-oriented, I mean, that's going to determine a lot of the trajectory as well for kind of where stocks go over the coming days. And obviously, it doesn't seem like Jamie Dimon wants a position there, but he'll probably find other people that would like to be in that administration. MicroStrategy at 248, NVIDIA at 142, Apple right here at 224, Bitcoin falling as well at 73,555 currently right now. Where's SMCI? Is SMCI still getting hit? SMCI, $21, down 23%. Is anyone buying anything? Let's ask that question. Is anyone buying anything here? I mean, if anything you're buying today, you're probably buying at 52-week highs if you are buying. We know the market's buying. We know those $6 trillion in cash might start getting deployed as well. So probably we're going to have some more money coming in. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying you're not buying yet. That's fair. Where is ELF? You guys are saying ELF is down. How bad is ELF down? ELF's down 5%. Maybe ELF, a lot of their inventory comes from China and it'll be tariffed a lot more. Maybe that's a reason why ELF is down. You could make that argument. Ulta Beauty, is that one down? Ulta is down 1%. Where's Berkshire Hathaway? Berkshire is up. Wow, Berkshire is up 3.6%. Look at that. Berkshire is up. Where's Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola is up. Coca-Cola is down 1.6. American Express is up 4.4%. Visa is up 3.84%. And then all the banks, let me look at the banks right now. I think all the banks should be green. Yeah, every bank is green except Nubank, HBSC, and Zions. Wells Fargo, SoFi, Bank of America. Look at Bank of America, dude. It's up almost 7% on the day. Buffett was selling this thing at $40. It's at almost 45 right now. JP Morgan at 240, TFC at 45, 48. TFC's up 7% as well. XLF, the banking ETF, is up 4.6%. Wells Fargo's up 11%, dude. SoFi should be at like $13. If all these banks are getting double-digit gains, financials seem to be primed for 2025 to have a run. And that should be very bullish for SoFi here. Gold and silver. Yeah, where's gold and silver today? We didn't look at where's silver. Silver. Wow, silver's down. Silver's down 4%. Is gold down today as well? Gold is down 3% as well. Huh. Well, silver and gold are theoretically a hedge against the recession, right? I know they benefit from rate cuts, but if you don't think we're going to get into a recession, I mean, maybe they're not the best hedge because you don't need them as much. So it seems like all commodities are kind of trending downwards right now. That would be my argument. I mean, if you don't think there's a massive recession under the Trump presidency, the hedge of silver or gold aren't needed. Although rate cuts are bullish for gold, but gold's up like 30% this year, so it's not as easy for gold to. And silver's up 40% this year, so silver's had a run as well. JP Morgan at 240 right now. Where is Hood? Hood is at 2744, up 9.9%. Robinhood is going to have October numbers next week, and those numbers, based on what Vlad said on the call, are going to be pretty good. So that is another tailwind. Robinhood did make $5 million last night by trading $500 million in contracts for the election betting market. So that's $5 million of earnings per share, because I would imagine there's like a 99% margin on that product, or like close to 100% margin. I mean, they're just collecting a commission. Also, I don't think their spread is 1 cent, because there's a 3 cent spread within the bid and the ask. Robinhood might be taking another cent off that spread. So if they had 2 cents, then maybe, like that's a product that should have printed a decent amount of money for them for Q4. And so definitely good for them, up about 10% of the day at 27.45 right now. Doug says we need to discuss that election week rule on Bitcoin that Carlos talked about last night. Okay, so Carlos introduced a Bitcoin historical fact to us, which is that Bitcoin during an election year makes a low, whatever low Bitcoin is made on the weekly of the week of the election year is the last price Bitcoin ever gets to, and you never see that price again. So the low this week on November 4th was 66,798.73. Historically, if Carlos is correct, then that weekly low of the election year means we will never see that price again for Bitcoin. Now, I mean, anything could happen. Maybe that doesn't turn out the way it does. But if that's the case, Bitcoin might be above 67,000 for eternity if that rule continues to be that rule, which that rule has been the rule for the past 4 elections that Bitcoin has been around for, which would be not bad for Bitcoin to be above 67,000. That would be pretty cool. What is the resistance for Hood at 2750? Let me see. I think 28 is the level we have to check for Hood, because we're at 2750 right now. For $28 on Hood, we're looking at about 25,000 shares. 25,973. So 25,973 is kind of what we're looking at in terms of resistance. HIMS is now up 11.8%. Yeah, again, HIMS had a good quarter, so this makes sense. HIMS now up 12%, 23.19. I look, okay, so how many of you guys are bullish on HIMS? Because HIMS and Rocket Lab, I'm looking at as 2 new stocks to start selling puts on and wheeling. And look, HIMS has really good premiums. And I know it's been a volatile year for HIMS, but I'm willing to engage in a little bit of the riskiness of the premiums at a higher delta if the stock actually is the stock that people think is going to be like a decent stock over the long term. And there's a lot of smart people that I respect that are very bullish on HIMS. And I haven't done the due diligence yet, which is why I haven't like sold puts on it. because I really need to develop my own conviction here. But it is very interesting how many people think this company, which, you know, what their goal a year ago, from my understanding, was to solve erectile dysfunction. And now their goal is to like be the medical operating system for millennials, and like weight loss is this big moat for them or something. It's like they have really evolved, and they're growing 70% year over year. I mean, that's incredible growth. So it is one of those interesting companies, and the premiums are great, dude. And I know there's volatility there, but if you're willing to own it from like 14 to 20, which from the people I've talked to, they say those are very good prices for HIMS given the growth that they're putting up. And I looked at some of their growth. Their growth is pretty amazing, so you can't deny that. Maybe that is a decent stock to have on the wheel. And then you got Rocket Lab as well, 1234. Now, Rocket Lab, I think the premiums are juiced up because they have earnings coming up soon. But, you know, if SpaceX goes to 500 billion, Rocket Lab's worth 6 billion right now. One could argue Trump with the Space Force, he has more space initiatives. There could be an argument that the next 4 years has a tailwind coming in for Rocket Lab as well. Shout out to Micro to Macro, Mr. Jesse. Thank you for the gifted 50 memberships. I appreciate you, Jesse. Thank you so much for being here today and for the 50 gifted. 50 of you guys in the chat just got a gifted membership to the channel. Jesse, for those that don't know him, I'm going to link his Twitter right now in the chat. Amazing macro analysis and amazing technical analysis as well. He's honestly the first person that I like started looking at when it came to reading charts, like a year ago, I think, or a year and a half ago. And so I'm sure all of you guys know Jesse, but if you don't know Jesse, there he is on Twitter. Really, really good technical analysis. And look, he's been big on Tesla all year. Every time Tesla dipped, he's been buying that damn dip on Tesla. And it has worked out pretty well for him, as Tesla right here is at $278, up 10.84%. So now Tesla year to date is up 12%, which is not bad at all, considering Microsoft. Is Tesla outperforming Microsoft? Holy crap. Tesla is performing on par with Microsoft. Microsoft is up 12.5%. Tesla is up 12.48%. Tesla is outperforming, or I mean, basically performing in the same lens of Microsoft, dude. Think about how volatile of a year Tesla had versus Microsoft, and Tesla is still on track to basically perform with Microsoft. That's incredible. In the past 6 months, Tesla's up 50%. In the past month, it's up 15%. And over the past year, it's up 27%. So even though there was a ton of volatility with Tesla, it still is ending up performing in a decent route, which is not bad. What do you think about Micron? I don't love Micron. I feel like they're a bit commoditized in that space for the semis. It's up 2% right now, which is great. But if I was going to go long semis, honestly, it would be NVIDIA or just SMH. SMH right here is up 1% on the day. Now, SMH is a bit expensive because it's had a hell of a run this year, but it's just hard to pick them, dude. Unless you really know what Micron does or ASML or whatever, like it's just hard to pick the names. You got to really understand each one of them. But I think the easiest one to pick is NVIDIA. Like you could know nothing about NVIDIA and buy it, but you're like, well, if NVIDIA goes down, I don't just lose money. Like the whole world loses money. So maybe there's an incentive for NVIDIA to not go down, which is, I think, part of the reason why a lot of people bought into NVIDIA. Honestly, part of the reason a lot of people are buying into Palantir. Palantir right here at $53.94. Look at Palantir trying to get right back to 54. I think a lot of people are also buying into Palantir because they're like, well, there's a lot of smart people that are bullish Palantir, so they can't be wrong, right? And so they're buying it here. And like, look, I'm not saying that's the worst form of logic. It's just at these valuations, anyone could be wrong, you know, when something's trading at 46 times price to sales in the short term. In the long term, I think, you know, there's a very strong moat and thesis there. But Palantir looking like it wants to continue to stay at 54. Regardless, even if you know, the day ends out not as green as it is right now, it looks like Palantir is going to close above 52, which is just crazy, right? Like yesterday we were celebrating 50 and 51. And today, if it holds up like this, it's going to close above 54. At worst, maybe it closes like at 51.50, which is still huge. It's just insane, bro. It's absolutely incredible. Any thoughts on BTM, a Bitcoin ATM company? I have not heard of this one. BTM, Bitcoin Depot Inc. Up 7%. I have never heard of this. A Bitcoin ATM company. Oh, so they probably, I've seen Bitcoin ATMs. So this is one of the companies that operates them. Yeah, I'll look into them. $97 million market cap. So they're a small one. Obviously not profitable. $1, and it's a penny stock basically, but it's up 7.6% on Bitcoin momentum. Year to date, let's see if this one's had any love. BTM year to date, yeah, it's down 50%. All right, so it's had a little bit of a tough year. I don't know if I love the business of taking a fee off of a Bitcoin ATM. I'd rather buy Coinbase, to be honest, at that point. But it is getting some love today as Bitcoin is up. Coinbase 226. Look at Coinbase, dude. Coinbase was at 176 on November 4th. Coinbase is at 227 right now. It's up 17%. So long Coinbase over MicroStrategy has definitely done well, at least in the past like 2 days. But obviously MicroStrategy has been the better bet for the broader part of the year. I know why Meta is doing poorly because Trump will stop the TikTok ban. Yeah, we figured that out a couple minutes ago. It seems obvious that's why Meta is down today. But I don't think that's bad for Meta. I just think that's, a little bit of a headwind, but not something that'll stop Meta's momentum. Unless the market was pricing in a TikTok ban this whole year, which I doubt they were, because I don't think TikTok is going to take away that much market share from Meta. Sofi 1190. Sofi needs to get to that $12 close. Because that would be nice to see for SoFi. SoFi 1191 right now, up 4.25%. NVIDIA 143. Market's coming back a little bit. MicroStrategy is up 10% on the day, 251. Celsius still getting hit, down 7.3%. If you want to sell puts on Celsius, today would be the day if you are bullish energy drinks long term. I have a lot of friends who like this name too, but I won't sell puts on it because I just don't believe in it at all. Like there's just like no part of me that wants to own an energy drink company and feel proud to own that at all. So Celsius is one of those names I'm personally not interested in, but look, at this point, it's down almost 70% year to date. So if you are bullish, $25 puts, $26 puts should be decent premiums today, given it's down 7%. Do you think there will be a 1030 dip today? Yeah, probably. But overall, the trend is in the right direction, dude. The trend is pretty bullish. So now here's the question. What do the bears say at this point? What do the bears say? For the people that are still bearish, what is their argument now? What do you guys think? If you have to put yourself in their shoes, how do you publicly make an argument for why this market is in a bubble or why there's a recession coming up and people need to be afraid? And look, when you look at valuations like Palantir, I guess that can add fuel to the fire in terms of, hey, things are getting a bit elevated and these are concerning. But Palantir is also an anomaly. Like we know Palantir is a bit expensive at 120 billion. Right? So it's a little bit expensive. We get it. But that's not every company in the market, And every company in the market in 2021 was egregiously expensive with the SPACs and all this stuff. And that was a whole different world. Palantir is just a unicorn, a story in and of itself. It's going to be a story that's studied for the next 50 years. Like it's just different. And you got to just accept that their valuation is their valuation at some point. But when you look across the board, I'm not seeing egregious overvaluation at all. I like really not at all. And if you're not growing, the market's tanking their growth estimates for you and stocks are going down. I mean, just look at SMCI or Celsius. Like Celsius down 6% off of some decent numbers, but not good enough for the market. That's healthy for that to happen in a market. SMCI has potential accounting fraud, very healthy for them to be down 50%. So what is the argument that the bears could make for why we have a recession coming up? Look at the 10-year in real rates. That is the bear argument. Well, the problem is the 10-year spiking is a conceptual thesis that the market has, 10-year right now at 4.49 right now, on the idea that Trump's policies will be inflationary. And they might be right to an extent, but if his policies are not that inflationary, for example, we talked about this last night. Let's say that you have a ton of deflation because of more technology, given Trump is more, techno optimist, right? And you just have more innovation, more productivity, all this stuff, and you're exporting more deflation or importing more deflation while also having tariffs, right? Which obviously are a bit more inflationary. It's not the best example, but the point is, if there's any level of policies Trump can enact that are a bit deflationary from a different vertical or a different industry, that can offset some of the inflationary policies like tariffs, which we don't fully know how inflationary they're going to be, but let's say they are inflationary to an extent, then that's an argument for how we don't have this massive spike in inflation because you have things that are offsetting the inflation that Trump wants to put out. I mean, if we get corporate tax rates to come down and you have people that in general are spending more, you have more innovation, you have more products, you have more businesses, you have more jobs, you can make an argument for how that would potentially be good for the broader market and potentially good for inflation to an extent. So I get the 10-year going up right now is a bear argument, but I don't know if the 10-year is going to be 4.5% for the next 2 years. And I think the 10-year, as rates come down, could settle in closer to 3.7%, even with some of Trump's inflationary policies, which might not be as bearish at the end of the day. But I agreed, there is a hint of how that could definitely create a bear case. So debt in the United States is definitely an issue. But look, at the end of the day, like Harris or Trump was not going to solve the debt issue. We have $35 trillion in debt. I hope Trump can do something about it. I'm very skeptical that he's actually going to do something major about our debt. In the next 4 years, if we add another couple $1 trillion of debt, is that tanking the entire economy? Like if 35 trillion is not tanking the economy, is 37 trillion going to tank the entire economy? I don't know. Right. And so again, when people stop believing the United States will pay back the debt, that's when the debt really, we have to default on. And that's when shit gets in, that people stop buying our bonds. That's when things get bad. I don't know if that happens under a Trump presidency, especially if Trump is really good at negotiating and talking with a lot of world leaders that, continue to maintain confidence in the United States. Is Rocket Lab up right now? Rocket Lab, Palantir 54, Rocket Lab. Wow, look at that. 1244 on Rocket Lab, up about 5%, 1241 right now on Rocket Lab right here. The big bear case most of the bears had was about job loss due to companies like spiraling, and as a result having to do layoffs. And as a result, when people lose their jobs, they can't spend as much money, and that's really bad. I don't know if we're seeing widespread layoffs or if Trump's going to create policies that are so bad that we have widespread layoffs and people don't have jobs, people don't have money, and then they can't spend. The one thing we know Trump's going to do is make sure people have money in their pockets, right? Like that. If he does nothing, the one thing he's going to do is try to make sure the economy is strong, because that was his mandate in 2017, and I think that's how he's going to continue to govern, even if he does nothing about anything else. So then the broader question is, where does the recession come from? Like, what is the thing that creates that recession? Remember last time, the recession we had during his presidency was because of COVID. That was like the real thing. 2018, you had a little bit of a stock market kind of 3-4 months meltdown. But that was due to Powell raising rates. And, did you guys know Bitcoin back at 74,000? Did you guys know I looked at interest rates when Obama was president the other day? Obama had 0% interest rates for 8 years in office. It was like 0.2, 0.5. It was basically zero. And then when Trump got into office, that was the first time in over 10 years, obviously because Obama became president in 2008. That was the Great Recession. So we had to, cut rates to the lowest level ever. And Powell in 2018 started raising rates, right? So Trump was one of the first presidents in the modern era that had to deal with somewhat higher rates. And then we had crazy inflation, and Biden had to deal with the highest rates ever. But Trump's now coming into an office dealing with rates at 5% that are probably going to get down to 3%. And as long as he can manage inflation and growth with those rates coming down, he should be able to have a decent economy underneath him. And he's going to have to maneuver around that. But if he does that successfully, I don't know if we see some catastrophic recession, dude. I really don't know if that ends up happening. Palantir at 5407, Rocket Lab trying to go for 1250, SMH at 252, HIMS at 20. Wow, HIMS is up 18%. When did that happen? HIMS was up 7% like 5 minutes ago. Holy crap. Robinhood's above 28. Robinhood, yeah, look at that, 28.12. Wow, 12% on the day for Hood. 28.15. 28.15 on Robinhood. Hood is erect. Yeah, literally, dude. Hood is, it's not Hood. HIMS is erect, but Hood is also erect. Oh boy. All right. So you got Robinhood back at 28.28 right here. And HIMS getting some good love. Who bought the Hood dip? Put in the chat. Who bought the Hood dip? Who bought it at 23.24? I think my total buying of the dip was about 600 shares, 200 at 24, and then 500 or 400 at 23.50. I think I bought like 10 shares yesterday as well, but that was my buying of the dip. Oh, also I bought some options on Hood. Hold on, let's check out those. Okay, so these are the options I bought on Hood. I actually bought a decent amount. I bought 157 of these. Okay, so these are up 30%. So I bought 37 $40 spreads on Hood for January 2027. So we bought 157 of those at an average price of 61 cents. That was when it tanked to like 23. And the goal was this is basically a 5x if Robinhood gets to 40 by January 2027. And so I don't know if I'm going to keep these, to be honest. I might just flip them because it was just like, hey, Hood's cheap right now. Let's like get some options that are super out of the money. And if we get a big move in Hood, which we're getting today, then we could flip them. And it's very volatile. There's not a lot of liquidity on this either because these are 2027. So like it was just up 2,000. Now it's up 900. Then it's up 300. Now it's up 1,400. Like the liquidity is not the best. But if Hood gets into that $30 range, liquidity is going to get a lot better because you're going to have people buying up those calls. And then we should get a little bit more momentum there. My uncle, what's up, Manu Mama? He's in the chat right here. We got to get you back on the stream. Everyone wants to hear from you. Everyone wants to hear from you again. You were a crowd favorite. 200 shares. All right. So he bought 200 shares. We got stock market news. Shout out to Evan. He bought at 24.75. I love it. Someone bought Hood at 23.79. All right, so a decent of you guys bought the dip. All right, so we all bought the dip. We all bought the dip on this. Where's Rick? Rick is up 7%, folks. If you know, you know. When it comes to Rick, you had to be there that day. You had to be there that day on the market open if you know about Rick. But if you were there, Rick is up 7%. Palantir 53.96, Rocket Lab at 12.47, Micron at 108, Tesla 280, Bitcoin 74,400. SoFi 1186. SoFi trying to get back to 12. Up 3% is good, but the financials are in a good spot right now. So maybe SoFi can try to get back to that $12 range. Enphase is down 16%. Nvidia at 143. Riot at 1087, up 11%. TJ is going to make a lot of money today. MicroStrategy at 246. TLT still getting hit, down 3%. And then IWM small caps are still up 5% today, which is not bad at all. Not bad at all. Kamala Harris is expected to call President-elect Donald Trump on Wednesday to concede and plans to speak publicly, according to 2 Harris aides. All right, there you go, folks. Looks like Harris is throwing in the towel and conceding the election to Trump. Honestly, this should have happened last night, dude. This really should have happened last night. It was very weird that it didn't happen last night. It would have been the more respectable thing to do because it was over last night. I mean, it was done. It was like once he was winning in Pennsylvania, there was no way she had a route to the presidency, and Wisconsin and Michigan. So it makes sense that she's doing this morning. It was kind of weird that she didn't talk to her. I mean, dude, the Howard University was almost empty when they had a spokesperson come out to talk on her behalf. Like, I just feel like it wasn't the right thing to do to just leave all your supporters out there in the cold, you know, waiting to hear from you. And you're just like, well, go to sleep. We'll look about it in the morning. But it seems like she's conceding now. Seems like she is conceding now. Thomas says, at least she conceded admit Trump still hasn't do it. Look, I didn't say anything about Trump. This is about, if you believe in democracy and you believe she legit lost, I didn't say anything about Trump in 2020. This is not even about comparing her to Trump. This is just being a objective citizen of the United States of America that is saying, hey, democratically, she lost last night. And she did not admit it until this morning, which is weird because it was very obvious to everyone that she lost. So you can complain about Trump all you want. All I'm saying is last night, it was time to concede, bro. And the reason the networks weren't calling it, CNN was up till 4:30 not calling this thing, is because she didn't concede. But it was obvious. She lost. We all knew she lost, right? Like at the end of the day, it's like if you lost, you lost. You got, like, it wasn't close, bro. And if it wasn't close, like, you can't act like it was close. It was over. I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm just like, this is what happened, like, objectively. So if you believe in democracy, you know, the craziest thing though, this is a conversation we had last night, and I'm very curious what people think about this. Kamala Harris has compared Donald Trump to Hitler and being a Nazi. How do you concede an election to a Nazi? How do you do that? How do you call up a Nazi and say, congratulations, you are now the president of the United States? And how do you stomach the fact that 71 million people voted for a Nazi? And the point I'm trying to make here is that the rhetoric of extremism that she deployed against Trump, I think objectively we can all agree was a bit over the top. Not saying Trump didn't have rhetoric as well. That was a bit over the top, but comparing him to the second coming of Hitler. And now her vote in the Senate will be the certifying vote, given she is the vice president. The vice president certifies the election. She will have to certify that Donald Trump is now the winner of the United States presidency. It's kind of crazy, right? It's kind of crazy. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, I think a lot of people are tired of the shit. And you had 71 million people that didn't believe her when he said that stuff because they didn't think that he actually was the next coming of Hitler. And I think as a result of that, you're getting a lot of people, again, that I believe are going to leave mainstream sources of media, and they're going to start finding alternative sources to get their content. But it does seem like officially she is conceding right now. Amit, thoughts on Moderna? I don't know what's in their drug pipeline. Same thing with Pfizer. TJ was telling me to look at Pfizer. Moderna down 4.3%. Pfizer, is Pfizer down as well? Yeah, Pfizer's down. So all the pharmaceuticals are getting hit right now. Pfizer has a sweet dividend, but again, I don't really know what they have in the pipeline outside of the COVID vaccine, and COVID's over. So I got to do some more research on these. Is J&J down as well? J&J's flat at 158 currently on the day. Is this a buy the dip on Uber? That's a good question. Uber right here at 73, down 1.54%. So Uber's down because Tesla is up. I don't know if this is a buy the dip on Uber. I am not in the camp that says, Tesla's going to eat Uber's lunch. Like, I think Uber will be around for a long time, regardless of the robotaxi network. But the market's obviously pricing in that Uber's growth is going to stall if Tesla's robotaxi network launches. So I don't know if it's a buy the dip. It's definitely an attractive name that's a little bit more attractive than when it was at 85. But I think closer to like 60 is when it gets a lot more exciting for the numbers that they're putting up. 72 is still, not that exciting to want to touch into it and see what it says. All right, what else do we got? Joby has earnings today. Okay, so Joby has earnings. We'll see what happens there. That should affect Archer Aviation as well. Let's see. Josh Brown is an expert on Uber. Yeah, Josh Brown also does indeed like Uber. Josh Brown also, he's buying another stock that Delta. He said he's buying Delta, which is wow, Delta's up 6.4%. Where's JetBlue? JetBlue's up 5%. United Airlines already having it. Wow, goodness gracious, bro. United's up 8%. United was up 80% before today. So United's basically up almost 100% for the year, which is insanity. But United's up right now. And then Palantir is at 54, still holding that $54 range. Pretty amazing. And then where's Archer Aviation? That one should be affected by Joby a little bit later today. Archer Aviation right here, down about 0.77% at 322. Tesla at 281. Tesla's still holding that 280 level. Robinhood right here, 28.28, up about 13% on the day. Rocket Lab at 1264, up 7%. And then Palantir at $54.08 currently right now. All right. Fox says, how the hell are you streaming again? Dude, we got a market to cover. We got markets at all-time highs. We got to be covering this, bro. Okay, hold on. Let me get 1 second. Let me get my charger real quick because I did not charge this computer overnight. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, there we go. Uber and Airbnb are stocks you'll not be able to understand, but buying now in a couple of years, it's so obvious. I mean, look, I agree. They're both verbs. We talked about this for a while ago. Business models are incredible. Maybe the stocks aren't amazing in terms of valuations, but Airbnb and Uber are not going anywhere. So we're seeing them get that momentum as well. DJT, where's DJT? DJT is up 5.8%, 35.96. There you go. You're saying JD Vance also called Trump Hitler at one point. Yeah, that's true. JD Vance did call Trump Hitler at one point, but he changed his mind on that, right? He changed his mind a couple years later and he clarified his statements here. So the question here is going to be, does Harris kind of change her perspective on what she has compared Trump to? And I don't think she's going to. She'll concede the election, but I don't think she's going to say that or take her comments back. And so I think that's the difference here. There is a difference in terms of how people interpret certain candidates and what they do in terms of their apologies or how they change their paradigmatic shifts. Now, look, did JD Vance want to be more included in the Republican Party, and that's probably why he changed his comments? Sure, but I don't know. I just don't, I'm curious. More importantly, on it, where the rhetoric is going to go from both sides over the next 10 years or the next 4 years, and if it's going to be as divided as it was as well over the last 4 years as it was. Austin says Harris is gone forever. We will never see her again. Do you think she's done with politics? I don't know if she's done with politics. I think I don't know if she's. Wow, look at Amazon 205. Bezos picked the wrong day to sell at 200. Bezos needed to win for a Trump victory, bro. Bezos gonna really cash out after that. Look at that, 205 on Amazon. I don't know. I don't think Kamala's gone out of politics. I don't think so. I think she's gonna be here for a while. Maybe she's not gonna run for president, but I think she'll still be here. Wow. I mean, even if Bezos is selling into the strength, you've got the market ready to buy it up. And those earnings were enough to get the market to buy it up at 205 right here, up 3%. But the market is absolutely buying it up at 205. Look at that. SoFi should be up 20%. I agree, dude. SoFi should be at like 1350 right now. SoFi should be up. I think SoFi should be up. And I think it will get there. But Amazon at 205, that's incredible. So market doesn't really care too much about Bezos and his selling at all. S&P at 588. S&P's up 2.12%. So S&P very close to that 590 level. 6,000 at the end of the year on the S&P does seem like it's very possible. MicroStrategy 244, NVIDIA 144, IWM 235. Small cap still up 5% on the day, which is amazing. The cruise lines all up 6%. Dell is up 3%. And then you got Palantir at 54.06 currently right now. You know the market is in full rally mode when JPM is up 10%. Yeah, that is kind of, dude, SoFi should be up way more right now. How is JP Morgan going up 10% and SoFi is barely cracking 5%? Like, that is very weird, dude. SoFi should be a lot higher. If JP Morgan, which doesn't grow, is up 10% and SoFi is growing at 30%, I know it's a smaller company, but like, even if it's a bank, the growth is just uncomparable to JP Morgan. It should be getting a little bit more love. Hims it looks like that Hims earnings that was that explosive is finally catching up to it. It needed a Trump victory to like solidify it. That's the crazy thing. A lot of these stocks had really good earnings, but like, imagine Trump didn't win and they didn't get the kind of earnings or the Trump victory, I guess, pump that we're seeing right now. It would be a little, I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know how the market would react. If Harris won last night, I don't think stocks are necessarily down 5%, but I don't know if they're surging green like they are right now. And I think we also got to remember that a large part of the American population doesn't invest. I mean, pretty much everyone invests through their 401k and stuff like that, but actually managing your portfolio, like, I don't know, I would say less than 10 million people out of the 350 million in the United States actually do that themselves. And a lot of the people that do that are in this chat right now. So a lot of people are waking up today and they think it's one of the worst days on planet Earth, given that Trump is back in office again. And they have their own reasons to have that logic and that thinking. But a lot of people that invest in the stock market kind of don't care because everything's green, right? And so there's just two different classes in America when it comes to the investor class and everyone else. And in the investor class, whether you have a $100,000 portfolio, a $10,000 portfolio, or a $10 million portfolio, it's up today probably. Unless it's in like some of these stocks that are just like bleeding red because they're Kamala trades. And so you've got two different parts of America in terms of who's thinking this is a good victory and who's thinking that this is the worst thing on planet Earth right now. I don't even think 1 million people do investing. So there's 350 million people in America. I think there's 150 million adults. I think there's at least 10 million people that manage their own portfolios in the United States out of those 150 million adults. I think so. Do you think that's too high? Do you think 150 million is too many? Or sorry, 10 million is too many? I think 10 million people theoretically in the United States definitely manage their own portfolios on Schwab, Fidelity, Robinhood, whatever. I think it's reasonable. But again, 10 million is still a small portion of the overall adult population. 10 million is too low. Yeah, maybe it's closer to 15 or 20 million. There's only like 2,000 of us that are here in the chat that like watch Palantir go up and down by the millisecond. So there's probably not 10 million people that do that. But then again, those 10 million people have not been in the stock since $6 and now it's, dude, Palantir is up 900% from the lows. If you got in at $6, I mean, you were up 9x. Is just it's incredible. It's one of the most incredible stories ever. Will says, I'm loving the green in my portfolio, but I'm very concerned by Trump winning as I think it increases the likelihood of a black swan event as he is erratic. Look, I think that's a fair point. We talked about this last night. There is a very fair point that Trump could wake up one morning and he tweets something crazy and you have world leaders that start to go into disarray and, you know, Trump says something really bad about Putin or Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un. And like, you just have a lot of geopolitical instability. One thing is we don't have to worry about the election anymore, but Trump will create headlines every day when he's in office. And could that create a black swan event? Yeah, theoretically that could. I guess the history will tell us if that time will tell if that happens, but outside of a black swan event happening, it does seem at least like the market's pricing in a decent chance of this being good for stocks. HIM's now up 14%, SoFi 1182, JP Morgan right here up 9.67% on the day. The Experimented, thank you for the super chat. 162 million people invest or own stocks in the United States. Yeah, so everyone owns stocks. It's not about owning stocks. It's about managing your own portfolio. If you have a job with a 401k, you invest in the stock market. But it's about people actually like pulling up their Schwab app on their phone and like looking at their 401k or looking at their individual stocks. That I think it's closer to 15 million people that do that. And out of those 15 million people, how many like do it every single day? I don't know. Maybe like 5 million people. How many people really, really, look at it every single day? That was the narrative in 2016 and we had peace. Yeah, that is fair. No, I mean, look, we did have 4 years of no wars under Trump last time. I don't know if that's going to be the same this time. I think that's another thing the American people voted for. I think they were really fed up with the Ukraine war. And look, I don't even know enough about the Ukraine war to like say good, bad, whatever. But I think the general sentiment in America is like we are tired of giving so much money to other countries. And there may be a legitimate argument why we're giving money to Ukraine. Again, there's a lot of nuance to it. But I think this vote, given him winning the popular vote, was the American people saying, dude, we're just tired of it. And at this point, we've given over $200 billion to Ukraine. I don't even know if Trump's going to stop that funding. He ran on a campaign of stopping that funding. Is he actually? I don't know, dude. We're going to have to really see kind of how this plays out. But at least it seems like the American people were not happy with it. Let's go to CNBC, see what they're talking about, and then we'll keep going from there.
That it's a turnoff. Exactly right. That it feels elitist at some level and that people just don't want to hear that when they're that in their ear when they're trying to figure out who to vote for.
Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Michael Linton.
When we come back after the break, we'll turn back to this massive market rally today. Financials leading the way. When we're back in 3 minutes.
All right, so we'll go back to that in a second. Let me pull up something right here. Here's what I want to pull up. Is Trump talking today? Mitch McConnell at 11:30 in the Senate. He's going to be talking. Okay, we got Leon Cooperman. Let's get his perspective on what's going on right here. This is one of those billionaire investors. Let's get his thoughts on why the markets are up right now because of this Trump win. All right. Here we go.
Next guest. Lee Cooperman is a billionaire investor and chairman and CEO of the Omega Family Office. Lee, you have been on with us for quite a while. I know you weren't supporting Donald Trump. I also know that you've been looking at the markets for a long time as a reluctant player in the markets. You were there, but you don't have great long-term implications for what you think might be happening. This morning, the equity markets, at least, are up pretty sharply, 1,300 points now for the Dow. What do you think with the Trump administration coming in? What does that mean for the markets?
Well, I think, let's face it, price earnings ratios are a function of a bunch of things: growth rates, interest rates, and confidence. And I expect under Trump we'll have more growth, higher interest rates, and clearly the market has more confidence. And that's what's being reflected this morning. And, I was not in favor of Trump. I was not in favor of, Kamala Harris either. I basically felt that we needed an adult in the room, and we didn't have an adult in the room. We still don't, in my opinion. So I would think that the market is reflecting a degree of optimism that may be uncalled for, but we'll see. I'm not short any stocks, which is a good thing. I am short the S&P above 6,400, and I don't think we get there. And I think the market is down next year, if I had to guess. But it's just a guess. We have guns and butter, and I think guns and butter are going to lead to crowding out. Now, whether he could do enough to reverse the trends, we'll have to wait and see. He does have a mandate. And I think you have to say that a country that elects Donald Trump is a country that's very unhappy. And, literally half the country is with him, half the country is against him. He didn't win by a major majority, but he's in control, and let's see what he does. I'm rooting for him.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, I'm not negative on him. I'm negative.
And we don't have an adult in half the very unhappy country, and it is what it is, I guess, Lee. We could be happy for a couple of hours anyway today.
You think the country's happy, Joe?
I think the country spoke in a pretty overwhelming fashion.
Because of how unhappy they are, though.
Well, the popular vote, too. I think that there's a lot. I think there's a popular vote of people that are happy. Yeah, Lee, I do.
Yeah, but I think that there's half the nation is unhappy, half the nation's happy.
It's gonna be either way.
Well, I understand that.
Will Rogers' comment was, if politicians did 10% of what they promised, there would be no need for heaven. So Trump is promising a lot. We hope he could deliver. I don't know. At the end of the day, the market's 22 times earnings, and given what's going on in the world, the Middle East, and given what's going on domestically, and given our fiscal situation, I would think the market is very fully priced.
You did. Oh, go ahead.
None of the models work. The market is expensive against interest rates, yet it's up a lot, and interest rates are up this morning.
That's what I was going to point out. The higher yields that you're watching at this point, the 10 years at 4.44. So that's a 14 basis point move from where we were yesterday at this point. Not traumatic, but it definitely shows you where the bond market initially thinks things might be headed. That may be a question of inflation. It may be a question of the yield curve normalizing. That's what Gary Cohn has been telling us over the last several days. What do you think, Lee?
Well, I said this in the last time I was on the show. I thought the Fed would cut short rates, but long rates would move up. And I think the Fed will cut again, and long rates will move up. We're nowhere near, prior to 2008, the 10-year government bond yielded in line with nominal GDP. So if you have real growth of, let's say, 2.5 or 3%, and inflation of 2.5 or 3%, the 10-year yield wouldn't be excessive at almost 5 or 6%. And the market does not allow for that in terms of its pricing. So, I'm not a trader, and I'm not short anything, but my inclination would be to sell stocks on strength. I don't think the market.
You said you are short north of 6,400, above 6,400 for the S&P, and obviously we're not there. This morning, you got another 500 points to go to get to that. You didn't think we'd be there. So you're short above 6,400 of the S&P. Are you short anything when it comes to bets in the Treasury market?
No, I'm not. I retired in 2018, and I'm trying to keep my life simple. I have some health issues that basically slows me down. But no, I don't play the game as well as.
All right, let's get back to regular CNBC update.
Races. Our Megan Casella down in D.C. with more. Morning, Megan.
Hey, good morning, Sarah. So the Republicans have taken not just the White House, but also the Senate at this point, and pretty decisively. They have a 52-seat majority already, just with the races that have been called so far. They flipped seats in West Virginia, Ohio, and Montana to get there. All of those states swung heavily for Republicans. There are still 6 seats left uncalled, many of these very close races. Take a look first here at Michigan. The Democrat Alyssa Slotkin leading by just about 11,000 votes, with more still coming in. And then in Pennsylvania, the Republican Dave McCormick is leading the incumbent Democrat Bob Casey by about 50,000 votes here, but still some 260,000 left to be counted. So could go either way in those seats, but already a decisive win for the Republicans in the upper chamber. And then over to the House, very much still an open question here. Republicans have flipped 3 seats already, as you can see there, but 54 remain uncalled. A lot of these are on the West Coast, so there still is lots of votes to be counted. Could be a few days with the balance of power in the House in limbo. But I will add, guys, Speaker Mike Johnson did just put out a statement just a few minutes ago declaring victory in the House, saying that Republicans are, quote, poised to have unified government, and that the latest data indicates they will hold the House majority. We don't know that for sure yet, but I will say that given the decisiveness of the Republicans' victory in the White House and in the Senate, even with so many House races still uncalled, guys, there is a lot of skepticism that Democrats will be able to hold on to any power in Washington next year. Guys.
Pretty resounding statement. Megan, thank you very much. Megan Casella in Washington. Let's unpack what it all means for the markets. Yardeni Research President Ed Yardeni joins us now. Is that the most bullish scenario, Ed, for stocks, the Republican sweep?
Apparently so. I mean, the market is certainly celebrating and saying basically it's a new day in America. So, look, we've been talking about the roaring 2020 since the beginning of the decade, and the stock market's roaring because it's anticipating that we're going to get more tax cuts, that we're going to get deregulation, and that those will offset the negatives of some tariffs, clearly, and maybe more government spending. But on the other hand, there's Elon Musk, who Trump is kind of sicking on the government and asking him to come up with all sorts of spending cuts. So it's a very fluid situation. But at the end of the day, I think the market's saying that the outlook is pretty good. We're not going to have a recession anytime soon. And the economy can live with interest rates at these levels. And the real question will be, what does the Fed do on Thursday? I think they should do nothing. But if they do a quarter, they're going to signal that they're not going to do any more anytime soon.
I mean, the market is almost 100% that they're going to do a quarter. So if they do nothing, that would be a big surprise and uncharacteristic of Powell to not even leak, something different than the market's pricing.
Well, we'll go back to Ed Yardeni in a second. But yeah, guys, markets are really getting some momentum right here. Hood is at 52-week highs, $28.64, up 14.7% on the day. SoFi's trying to get back to $12, $11.93. JP Morgan's up 10%. Airbnb is up 2%. Palantir is just chilling, literally just chilling above $54. Like it's no big deal that it's at $54. It's $50 freaking $4. The stock was 16 January 1st. It's at 54 right now. It's just, I mean, what do you, I hate Davis so much, bro. I hate only 54. This guy. Goodness gracious, bro. Can you guys believe this shit, bro? 54. Like, I like the majority of the day yesterday, I was just obsessed with Palantir. So I didn't even think about the election. And then finally at 7 p.m., I was like, okay, we got an election coming up. Like, this is a big deal. And then by 9 p.m., it was kind of trending in the direction of Trump. And then, 7 hours later, we get the final answer. And now you're looking at Palantir at not $50 yesterday, which was a big deal. I mean, $50 is like a big moment. Now we're just trying to say, hey, what if we get to 60? It is incredible, bro. The only thing that would really get us to 60 tomorrow, like immediately, is if we cut by 50 bips. We're not doing that, though. We're not doing that. We're probably cutting by 25 bips. We do have a Fed meeting tomorrow. That's going to be very important. If we have a 50 bips cut, who knows, dude, what's going to happen? But it's not going to be 50. It'll be 25. But still, that's still bullish for Palantir. And I don't know if it stops at 54. I don't know. $120 billion market cap. Okay, so I want to ask this question to chat. I want to get your guys' gauge. Who believes the $120 billion market cap is justified? Either qualitatively or quantitatively. You guys have heard all my arguments of rationalizing $120 billion market cap. Who actually believes Palantir deserves to be worth $120 billion? Very curious what people think. And if you say yes, you can explain why you think so. If you say no, you can explain why as well. OpenAI's market cap is 157 billion. I mean, not really market cap, but like, valuation, which I guess is a market cap to an extent. But we're still 30 billion under OpenAI. Thomas says not a chance, but I'm not selling. So I feel like that's what we all. I feel like that Thomas has the perfect answer. It's like, all right, so it's probably not worth 120 billion realistically, but there's no way we're selling. And like that's the fun part about this, because if you're not selling, even if you don't agree with the market cap, and the hedge funds aren't selling, and the institutions aren't selling, and retail's not selling, who the fuck is selling? There's not that many people. Therefore, this 120 billion has nowhere to go potentially but up, unless unless we have a massive correction. So yeah, most of you guys are saying no. I mean, look, you can make the argument, it's not the best one, but the OpenAI comparison, you could make the argument. The only difference is OpenAI is growing way faster than Palantir. And OpenAI's TAM in terms of like users is 8 billion people, right? That can use GPT. Palantir is probably not touching 8 billion people. I mean, unless they have some version of a consumer product eventually, but their TAM is more highly concentrated commercial enterprise government clients that will pay a lot of money for their software. And I think that TAM is enormous, but one could argue, a consumer's company is simply higher in terms of the amount of people they could reach. So they are growing faster. Now, one thing is OpenAI is not profitable. OpenAI is losing a crap ton of money. And here's the other way you could say OpenAI at 150 billion is crazy compared to Palantir at 120 billion. OpenAI is creating a commodity, which is an LLM. Now, having said that, they're probably going to be the best commodity out of all of them because OpenAI has done the most training. They have the best GPUs, and they had a first mover advantage against Google. But if they end up just creating an LLM that is not that different from the other LLMs, one could argue, well, what are we really buying here? Granted, I do think their LLM will be the best in class. So I think that's the sentiment for all of us. A lot of us rationally, it's tough to justify 120 billion, but no one wants to sell it because NVIDIA in 2021, it was hard to justify close to 800 billion, but you didn't want to sell it because of the pure potential. And NVIDIA figured out a way to grow into it. And now NVIDIA is 3 trillion. So if that's the sentiment, then I don't know if this thing has a massive correction back to 30, dude. I could see maybe a correction back to 45, maybe 40 if things get dicey there. There's like some macro issues or, in general, people take profits, but I don't know how easy it is now to get back into the 30s that easily. A $500 billion market cap would be a 4x from here, which is crazy to say, right? 500 billion would be a 4x from here, whereas like 7 months ago, 500 billion was a 10x for Palantir, which is pretty incredible, dude. Where do you see SoFi price end of year? I think a minimum of $12 to me. I used to say $9, then SoFi really crushed earnings. So I think 12 is reasonable. Now, I mean, I don't want us to keep throwing out price targets, but if all the banks are going up 10, 15%, it's not unreasonable to say SoFi is 15 by the end of the year. Like just off pure momentum of rate cuts and their lending business. The street knows Q4 is going to be phenomenal for SoFi, given the new administration and given rate cuts. So it's hard to imagine SoFi is going back to 7 or 8. I think that's we're done with. And if you bought shares in 7 or 8, you can. I think you can rest on those forever because I don't think we easily get back down into that 6, 7, 8 range. But end of year, hopefully closer to 12 to 14 on SoFi. Can we call Steve to make sure he's okay? That's a good question. Let's see if we can call Steve. There's no way Steve's going to like this valuation. There's no way. There's no way. Let's see. Also, Steve was buying Kamala contracts last night at like 5 cents. He was like, it's a good deal. I was like, Steve, she lost, bro. It's over. It's done. She lost. He might be in work. He might not be able to pick up. But yeah, he's not going to be happy. Oh, he's there. Hey, Steve, you're live on the Market Open. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you, sir?
I'm a happy camper at the moment.
Are you happy because you looked at your portfolio today?
No, I'm happy because I looked at the portfolio today.
So, okay, I don't want to keep you for too long, just 10 minutes, but overall reaction as an American citizen, and you wake up this morning with Trump as president and the stock market up 2%.
You're going to have to bear with me because I'm getting in the elevator. I'm celebrating. I went out and got a couple of everything bagels for myself.
Okay.
So give me like 30 seconds.
Okay, cool. I'll put you on mute for 30 seconds.
All right.
I love Steve, dude. He went out. He said he celebrated. He got everything bagels for himself. I don't think he wanted Kamala to win, but he was betting that she would win in the betting markets. But I think, look, if you lost money in the betting markets on Kamala, but you have a ton of money in the stock market, you can't be that upset because, the stock market is up a lot today, even if you lost some premium in the betting markets. Wow, Hood, 2873. 2873 on Robinhood. All right. So yeah, what is your reaction to Trump winning?
I think that there's going to be some winners, and I think financials and pipelines are at the top of the list.
Yeah, JP Morgan's up 10%, bro.
Financials are going to run.
The banks are doing great. SoFi's at 1194. It looks like the market's excited about this.
Look at Kinder Morgan. Look at KMI. I was telling everybody at 15 and 16, that maybe even under 15, that this was the company.
Why is Kinder Morgan running on a Trump victory?
Because they got 75,000 miles of natural gas pipelines.
And so the idea is Trump's going to approve all of that, right?
No. Already built. You can't replicate their infrastructure. So pipeline companies are running to look at Energy Transfer. Energy Transfer is up over 17 now.
Whoa.
Pipeline companies are going to run because you're going to get increased production and less regulation. And while Exxon and Chevron may not be the play because the price of oil will probably come down because Saudi Arabia and OPEC Plus will also increase production, pipeline companies will do fine because most of their revenue is secured by take-or-pay or fixed-fee contracts, and you'll have more fuel from refined products to crude to natural gas running through their pipelines and their fractation and their storage units that they will collect more fees, more revenue, more distributable cash flow, more dividends / distributions, higher share prices.
Okay, so obviously the stock market's up today. Like, did you?
Is this going to hold? No, I don't know. But
no, that's not even my question. My question is like, can you believe Trump actually won?
How about this? Can you believe what I'm about to say? I didn't think that I would say that we have a chance of hitting 6,200 this year. And I can't believe I'm going to say that we have a chance of hitting 72, 7,500 on the S&P next year. Think about how crazy that is. Except for a black swan event, what's the downside risk in this one? This just became the biggest risk on market.
Okay, so that's my next question because I was asking the chat earlier. For the Bears, what is the argument?
The Bears, they better go into they're going into an ice age right now.
No, but let's be objective. What is a real bear argument besides the black swan event?
There isn't.
But see, that makes me nervous. When you say there isn't, I feel like there has to be.
Well, if there is one, I'm not smart enough to see it because I tend to look at everything pretty negatively to try to figure out what the downside risk is. I mean, the Fed's going to cut tomorrow, so you're going to get a better business environment because you're going to have lower interest rates. You have GDP growth over the past 10 quarters consecutively. Okay, unemployment's going down. So now you're going to be in an environment where, Jesus Christ.
You got to take that?
No. Now you're going to be in an environment where
I can call you back in a minute. I can call you back.
No. I sent it to the voicemail. It's spam. So you're in a better business environment because you have a combination of lower rates happening. When that happens, businesses are more likely to borrow to expand. When they do that, they need more goods and services. They need more energy. They need more of everything. People have more disposable income than they've had since stimulus checks from the pandemic. The business environment is really rocking and rolling right now. And if you have unemployment declining and not increasing and lower rates, there is no recession for the next couple of quarters on the horizon. And a recession is inevitable. But right now, there's nothing on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what me in the chat
For somebody to tell me a bearish case, they need to blow a hole in economic analysis. And the numbers don't lie. So except for a black swan event, what's the bear case?
What about debt?
I mean, has debt ever mattered at this point?
But like we're adding a lot. Like if Trump doesn't do anything, and I don't think Harris would have either. But let's just say debt keeps going up dramatically.
I agree. It's a problem. debt is a huge freaking problem. I completely agree with that. But if rates go down and they can actually refinance, if you have a buyer of our debt at 2.5%, 3%, and they can refinance all of our debt at a lower rate, you can possibly chop a couple $100 million off of the annualized interest. And if you keep growing and if you get less regulation, you get outpaced growth, you could outgrow your way out of the situation.
So you think Trump deregulating and making it more friendly to businesses is going to usher a new era of growth for the next 4 years?
You could have 4 or 5% growth rates on GDP.
Holy crap. Dude, if we grow 5% GDP, I don't think that's happening, but if we do that.
I said you could, not you would. You could. You could.
If we at least keep
It's
3%, that would be
possible.
nice. If we keep 3%, that would be good.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah. I mean, that would be if the United States grew GDP above 3.5%. With inflation below 2. Oh, so what do you think what's going to happen with inflation? What do you think is going to happen in the next 4 years with that?
I mean, here's the thing that people seem to not understand about inflation. Inflation isn't dead, okay? It's just at a normalized rate. But that doesn't mean that prices are ever going back to where they were. And that's an overall problem, but people don't understand how that works.
What do you mean by that?
Inflation has occurred since 2022.
Right.
But just because inflation is down to 2.2% or 2.4% from 9.1% since 2021 or 2022, that doesn't mean it's dead. It's still there. It's just growing at a 2.4% rate year over year instead of 9% rate.
Yes.
Like the prices are still high.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of deflationary policies Trump could have as well with just more growth outside of purely inflationary. Do you think tariffs becomes a big issue?
Just give me 1 sec.
Yeah. Guys, Hood was just trying to touch $29
Sure
today.
I'm muted on this. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think it's a negotiating tool. We got to see what he actually does. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. You can't speculate on that. You just know that he wants to use them. And, you know, how he uses them is a different story. We cross that bridge when we get there. But
I also think it was a campaign thing, and it was this whole thing about
the markets went up, and we did pretty good when he was doing this last time around. And I think you're right. I think it was more of a talking point than anything.
Yeah, and look, if he actually incentivizes businesses to make stuff in the United States off the fear of tariffs, you could argue that's great for American jobs. You really could. So
I'd rather buy American. If I had the choice, spending $100 or $103 or $105, and it was American, and the same quality, I'd spend an extra $3 or $5 on every 100 to buy American to ensure U.S. jobs.
Okay, now what do you think about last night? Harris didn't call him to concede. She's going to call him today, reportedly. How did you think about how last night played out?
It is what it is.
It looks like they're taking the Senate, and they have a strong chance of taking the House as well, which means, I mean, what is your perspective on the fact that the popular vote he won, it feels like a mandate by the American people to Trump? Like, how do you think the country's interpreting this right now?
I think it depends where you live.
I mean,
I don't like talking politics.
No, I know. I'm just saying objectively, like a Republican winning the popular vote hasn't happened in a while, bro. Like it just seems like the country decided in a pretty overwhelming
All
fashion.
I'm going to say is it's pretty hard to get people to trust you when you duck interviews. And I think the biggest one of the mistakes that was made was they overlooked the power of podcasts, and they bought into the narrative that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News are still the behemoths. And I think a message was sent with all the streaming events last night. Patrick Bet-David had around 200,000 people streaming his event.
I had 1,500. You know,
you had 1,500. All in had 40 to 50,000 people. I mean, look, if you don't go on these podcasts, long form, I think that it hurts. I think they missed an opportunity to go on Rogan. I think they missed an opportunity to go on All In. And I think those are opportunities that were lost. And I think that this is going to be looked at and studied over the next 4 years of how to generate a new playbook for 2028, because just going on 60 Minutes isn't going to cut it anymore, because quite honestly, the younger generation doesn't watch 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be a study in a cultural shift of where people get their media from and how people consume media, and podcasts are going to be taken very seriously.
I agree. And look, the 1,500 people I had on last night is not 200,000 of PBD, but I'm very grateful for those 1,500 people. And those are 1,500 eyeballs that didn't go to mainstream media networks. And that trend is only going up.
Mm-hmm.
And if that trend's only going up, by the way, Robinhood right here, guys, breaking above $29, $29.08, up about 16% on the day. It seems like that trend is going to be further away from mainstream media.
Look, Rogan gets 8 to 11 million views per episode. How do you not go on his show? I think between Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, if I remember correctly, combined, their average is like 4 to 5 million. So how do you not take an opportunity to go on him and reach out to his base and explain why you're a better candidate? I don't get why you wouldn't take that opportunity. I think that was a very big opportunity that was lost. I think it's going to be studied.
That's fair. That is fair.
You can't, if you're running for an elected official, especially with the amount of money that was spent on advertising and media, I think you got to go on all these shows and you got to be out there. I mean, look, the bottom line is Trump campaigned very hard. Think about it, after the Rogan interview, he flew and went to a rally. I think she needed to campaign more. I think she could have easily won if she had campaigned the same style as Trump.
I agree.
I think she could have easily won.
I agree. I think this was a marketing thing. I really do, dude. I mean, people already don't like Trump. There's a lot of people that just don't like him. We have to acknowledge that. So if she had just got the message out a little bit more, but that means she had to be willing to actually have these conversations. So, Steve, last question for you. Palantir is at officially $120 billion market cap, $53. What is your reaction to that?
It's crazy. It's crazy. But don't be surprised if Amazon goes to 300.
Ooh, Amazon. It's above.
Do me a favor. Tweet out my article I wrote. I texted it to you.
You wrote it today? Let me put this in the chat.
Yeah, I'm seeking out. I mean, don't be surprised if Amazon goes to 300.
All right, let me put this in the chat. Everyone, please check out Steve's article. Amazon road to 1 trillion is getting closer in revenue. Here we go.
Because guess what? Lena Khan, bye-bye.
I forgot. She's done. She's GG's.
She's done. She doesn't have any bodyguards. AOC's statement that came out about her is now null and void. Lena Khan's going to be done. Big tech is going to run. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
I forgot about her, bro.
You know, you got to look at all the angles. If Lena Khan is gone, which I don't see how they keep her, this is a different administration. I think antitrust and monopoly against Amazon goes away. I think it goes away on Google because Elon's going to tell them, and Chamath is going to tell them, and Sachs is going to tell them that AI is intertwined against all their business units. And if you break them up, it puts the country in a diminishing position in advancing AI, and our enemies will advance at a greater rate.
Wait, hold on. So I want to highlight that. You're saying the tech guys who are in Trump's ear are going to say, don't break up Google because that's bad for American technology innovation.
Yes.
I actually think you have a hell of a point there.
Yes, 100%. No question in my mind.
I think you have an argument there.
None of these companies are getting broken up now because we are in an AI infrastructure war, and breaking up these companies puts the country at a national security risk. It ain't going to happen.
Dude, I agree. Google getting broken up overnight, that's not good for our AI ambitions. That's a great point. That's a great point.
I'm just saying, somebody put me on as a strategic advisor, please.
Well, we got Amazon breaking above 200 after a while, so looks like Amazon's heading in the right direction as well. Gary Gensler, he's also out as well, I imagine. So
you would think.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Appreciate your thoughts and enjoy the bagels.
I'll call you later. These everything bagels are amazing, by the way.
You got cream cheese on them, right? Or butter?
Nah, toasted with butter.
Toasted with butter. All right. Enjoy them. Talk later.
Well,
Later. That's a good point, right? I mean, there's a logical argument to break up Google from the FTC. I've never been a fan of that argument, but if you did break up Google and Google couldn't do what Google does in terms of subsidizing all of their businesses to advance artificial intelligence, I mean, that does put the United States at a national security risk, in my opinion. Wow, Robinhood 2920. Because even if Microsoft and Facebook have ambitions, you need a lot of people trying to fight in this race to make sure AI, that the United States wins in the AI race for the long term. Whoa, baby. Robinhood 2923. We are essentially at the levels we were before earnings and then a bit higher than after earnings as well. 30 on Robinhood would be pretty cool to see if that could happen. 29.24 is pretty incredible. At $30 again, the market cap would still be 29 billion with an enterprise value of 24 billion because they have 5 billion in cash, growing at 36%. So this is why I do think that they have a chance to get there. And look, the interesting thing is Robinhood's at 29.20. Bitcoin is at 74,000, but it was there last night. So it's not like Bitcoin's like going to the moon yet or anything. It's doing well today, but it's not, going nuclear, at least not yet. And it looks like the market's buying up Robinhood just off the assumption that, hey, November's going to probably be a strong month with rate cuts coming up and with the broader equity markets doing well. And Robinhood is a clear beneficiary of that. Lee says, I don't like Google, but breaking them up is absolutely the wrong thing to do. I agree. I mean, I never liked the argument about breaking up Google. It was always weird to me. Just even as a business, like if I owned Google, I would not want to have multiple companies separated from Google. So not too bad. All right. How many shares are at 30 on Hood? Let's see. For Robinhood, we are looking at $30 resistance. If we want to be really greedy, it's going to be a lot. It's not going to be a little. We're looking at 182,000 shares. So getting above 30 is going to be tough. But maybe we have a shot to get there. Should I roll Hood 26 to 31 next week? Yeah, if you have the 26 calls, I think rolling those probably is the right idea. I mean, I don't know. We could go back below 26. We have another couple of days left in this week, but it looks like it is holding some of this momentum. All right, let's finish what Ed Yardeni was saying, and then we'll keep going from there.
I understand that, but all the economic, they say they're data dependent, and the data has been very
data's been good.
I mean, yeah, the data's been really good, and now they have to consider the possibility that there'll be more fiscal stimulus, more economic growth, and do they really want to lower interest rates and contribute to that kind of stimulus and risk blowing their inflation target?
I think what people might be wondering is, okay, now we have a very different outlook for America, different policy, different leadership.
Correct.
Clearly, the market's reacting today. But how should you be making material changes to your portfolio? And if so, what? And is it too late? Because some of these moves are already gigantic.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit late to get in, and I certainly wouldn't be jumping in today. But certainly, we've been bullish since late October of 2022, and anybody who's been in the market should just stick with it. I mean, at some point there could be some profit taking on this kind of move, but the
even beneath the
fundamentals look good.
S&P, Ed, I mean, look, healthcare is negative right now on the session. Stocks like Meta, who we've heard Donald Trump trash before, under pressure. Financials are soaring. The changing of exposures and winners and losers, that's really what we're trying to figure out here, more than just a day.
Yeah. Well, I think even that's kind of difficult to do in this kind of rapidly moving market. I think you got to wait until things settle down. We've liked the financials very much. We wouldn't get out of the financials. We haven't been keen on the healthcare, so we wouldn't get in there if RFK is going to suddenly restructure that sector one way or the other. So no, we're feeling pretty comfortable. We've been recommending technology, communication services, industrials, financials. The only clunker has been our recommendation for energy, and maybe it's time to get out because Trump wants to drill baby drills. So, that isn't going to be great for energy.
Get out of the energy stocks on lower oil prices?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Trump wants to produce more oil. China's demand is going to remain weak. Europe's demand remains weak. And the U.S. is going to be producing more. So I don't see a lot of upside for oil prices anytime soon.
Is there a risk that all of this gets hurt if the tariffs do come to fruition and result in what economists have warned of, which is higher inflation, weaker economy, retaliation, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Or does the deregulation and the tax cuts, does that offset it?
I think it offsets it. And I think also a lot, we basically the deal maker is back. Donald Trump is the art of the deal. And a lot of his blustering about tariffs, maybe attempts to negotiate better deals. He did negotiate a better deal with Mexico and Canada last time. And now I think he feels the need to go back and negotiate with at least Mexico again, because so much Chinese production is moving to Mexico.
Right. All right, Ed. Thanks for talking.
Oh boy, this is the Trump pump, baby. We are seeing a Trump frickin' pump today, and it's pretty aggressive right now. S&P is at 587, Amazon at 204, Robinhood above 29, SoFi 1190, JP Morgan up almost 11%. Upstart is up 5%. Affirm, another great fintech name that's growing like crazy now, profitable, up 8%. And then you got Coinbase as well because of Bitcoin, up 22%. Coinbase was 176 a couple days ago. Long Coinbase was not a bad move. Rivian's down 9%. Where is Tesla? 285. Tesla's up 14%. And then Palantir still chilling right below 53, 52.96, but still up about 4% on the day. IWM and small caps are up 4.7%. That means TNA, the leverage on IWM, is up 14% on the day. Robinhood right here, 29.13. And you got Rocket Lab up 6% as well. CleanSpark is going to wreck people. Lower energy pro Bitcoin policy. I think minor altcoin season is here. Where's CleanSpark? CLSK. Yeah, this one's up 15% as well. The miners are in a good situation. If Bitcoin continues to do what it needs to do, the miners should get their momentum. SMCI also. Is SMCI still getting hit? Wow, 23%, down even further. Yeah, if you were in SMCI over the past couple of days, it's been tough, but if you were in literally anything else besides SMCI, so some decent other picks you could have been in, you're smiling right now on your portfolio. It's pretty crazy, guys. I mean, because you know what, like after Trump spoke at the Bitcoin rally in June and Bitcoin kind of was flat, it was one of those things where it was super overhyped and then underdelivered. There was a part of me, and I'm sure there was a part of you last night that felt, all right, well, what if Trump wins and like the market just doesn't like, care? They don't react to it. It's yada, yada. Maybe it's negative. And that, I mean, this is like, no, the market wanted Trump. Like objectively is what we're seeing. And last night, within 2 hours of the votes being called, we could tell Tesla was up 3%. Palantir was trying to hit 52. Robinhood was at 25.50. I mean, like, you had names that started going up and it became obvious how the market was thinking about this. And now it has become very obvious the market wants a Trump presidency. And that doesn't mean the market just goes up forever, but it does mean that at least over the next couple of years, if the policies Trump enacts is what the market thinks is going to have the intended effects, they are willing to buy equities here and allocate capital. Also, there's $6 trillion on the sidelines that is going to have their money market yields come down tomorrow. So there's an influx of capital that is not going to want to just be on the sidelines when great American companies like JP Morgan Chase are up 10% in a day. 10% in a day is way more than 4.75% in a year. And the question becomes, what is the risk to JP Morgan versus my no risk money market fund? And if the risk becomes minimized because you have a much friendlier administration for businesses, then you're just going to have money that leaves at that point. And it's coming back into equities. Cleveland Cliffs CLF up 19% off steel tariffs. CLF, I've heard of this company before. Wow, up 19% off implied Chinese steel tariffs. There you go. So this one actually benefiting from the idea that there's going to be more tariffs. Yeah, I've heard of Cleveland Cliffs a while ago. This is actually one of the first stocks I looked at in 2019, 2020. How has this one performed? CLF stock. CLF stock. Over the past 5 years, it's up 83%. So if I actually bought it in 2019 at $7, then it would have been done well. But yeah, year to date, this one is down 30%. It is up 20% today after being down 30% this year off this idea that tariffs on steel might be beneficial. Wow, this is a pretty incredible, dude. Clean Spark's up 16%. Tesla, dude, Tesla doesn't have 12% days. I mean, after earnings, I think it had a 14% day, but 10 to 15% days on Tesla are not easy to get. And we've had 2 of them in the past 3 weeks. Has Elon tweeted anything? Let's see if Elon has said anything today. We saw Bezos congratulate Trump. Elon has not tweeted anything this morning, but last night he said the people of America gave Donald Trump a crystal clear mandate for change tonight. But no other tweets from him. We did have some world leaders from India and Argentina congratulate Trump on his victory as well. So you did have more and more people coming out and wishing Trump and congratulating him on his presidency. Here's Dan Ives. Let's see what he has to say about Trump winning and his thoughts on markets. All right, here we go.
Shares of Tesla, one of the best performers of the morning, soaring today following the president-elect's victory last night. Joining us to talk about what it means for Tesla, for big tech, for Elon Musk. Let's bring in Dan Ives, Wedbush Securities Analyst, of course, a buy rating on Tesla, and a recent target at least of 300. Dan, good morning. Yep. Does that change, that number?
Look, I mean, I think it's a strategic bet that Musk made that ultimately could pay dividends for Tesla in a huge way for the coming years. I think $40 to $50 per share it adds just for beginners, not just because of what could happen from a tax credit perspective. I think leveling playing field, you take out the Detroit automakers, and then that's really going to give them an advantage from a cost, scale, and scope perspective. But I think the big thing here, Trump could ultimately fast track autonomous FSD. And our whole view, as we've talked about in the show, $1 trillion of valuation just on AI alone. This is going to unlock it. That's a key.
Makes a lot of sense. Is there no scenario in which relations with China take a big hit and Musk is asked to pick a side, is in a sense?
Yeah, and I think that, so on the other side, especially, it's not just for Tesla, also Apple as well. For Musk, I think there's a comfort in him being in this situation that he could almost be a pseudo sort of, ambassador.
Shadow diplomacy?
Call it 10% politician, 90% CEO, in terms of making sure that the retaliatory or the carve out, I think that's going to be important. The carve out piece from a tariff perspective. And I think one of the reasons that you see NVIDIA up today, you see semi, you look at Apple, despite some fears about what we're going to see on tariffs, there's a view maybe with Musk there, Bark could be a little worse than the bite when it comes to tariffs, specifically on AI. And I think that's really right now what's key, not just to AI, but to the broader tech sector.
You started off by saying you think this could materially help Tesla, having him in the White House. How? What sort of regulations are we watching?
So I think there's 3 things. One is that the EV tax credits get taken away. And I think that even though negative for EV sector, bullish for Tesla because of their scale and scope. So from a price
bad for Detroit, though, potentially.
Bad for Detroit. Bad for, of course, bad for GM, bad for
Which
Ford.
you cover as well.
Which and my view going into this was like that was a potential risk, but I think Mary and the team have kind of pulled back a little. So it's not like they've bet it all on EVs. So I think one is going to be that where they get an advantage. 2, and I think probably most important is this autonomous FSD. Because when you think about cybercab and everything we've talked about, 26, could that be 25? Now, all of a sudden, if Trump clears the path there, this changes the whole paradigm, I think,
Are those regulatory
for
authorities that oversee full self-driving federal in nature so that's where it is? It's not states that are involved? Or how does that work?
Is it Department of Transportation?
It's a great question. I mean, there's some state, but a lot of it's federal. And then I think the third part is a big overhang here. I think just broader has been regulatory. I think another overhang has even been like FTC with Khan, in terms of not just for Tesla, but I think broader in big tech. I think the view of many investors I've talked to is Khan's likely out, in this scenario with Trump taking over, which is bullish for M&A, bullish for big tech, less regulation.
Right.
But when it comes to Tesla, it's all about Musk now having a say where he didn't have one either Biden.
No, he's got a significant say. Let's talk very briefly here, broader tech, generative AI, which we talk to you about a lot when we bring you on about NVIDIA. What do you think his impact will be there in terms of advising the administration, I guess, and what the policy may be?
He'll be what I'll call like an AI ambassador. I mean, that's essentially what the role he could play from a tech perspective. There's comfort. I think it's part why NVIDIA's up, why Apple's not down, despite some worries about retaliatory. Musk being there, is Twilight Zone as it sounds, actually gives some comfort that specifically on the AI piece, that he could actually make sure that this does not have unintended consequences for the big tech trade, for Microsoft, for the hyperscalers. And I think that's something that's clearly at play here, especially with Musk having much bigger say in the White House.
Finally, when you think about state governments, right, Democratic states that might be recoiling at what happened at the federal level, does that not make them more antagonistic on FSD at least?
Oh, no, I mean, like this is going to be, you'll have battles that will continue to play on, for the coming years. But the big one is on the federal side. So especially what's going on in China, if Trump really tries to fast track autonomous FSD, then everything we talked about at robotaxi day, instead of 3-4 years, that's 1-2 years ahead. I think most of the investors I'm talking to, that's their big focus. Can this fast track autonomous? I think the question is probably yes. And that's why we start to look at $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion market cap as this all plays out. It's a big part of the value.
Now, $19 away from your target. Keep us updated.
That
Dan,
will.
Good to see you.
Great.
Dan Ives.
Well, you got Ives bullish on Tesla as a result of this Trump presidency. 284 on Tesla, Palantir 53.40. You got Hood right below 29 at 28.90, up 15% on the day. SoFi 11.79, JP Morgan up 10%. Kinder Morgan, Steve was talking about them, up 6.2%. Airlines are up today. United is up 6%. It's a pretty incredible day. S&P 500 right here at 588, up 1.98%. Oh boy. All right. I think that's it, guys. I think that's it for me. I think I need to get a little bit more sleep, but I don't know if I'll be able to sleep given what's happening in the markets right now. Look, this is the state we're in. Trump is now the president. And given he is the president, the market is liking it. Again, I wouldn't expect it to just I wouldn't expect people to not take profits here. But as Dan Ives said, as Steve said, there's a lot of tailwinds coming up to be in this market. And I don't know, dude. I try to be pretty objective about the bear case. And I think the conversation with Steve was a good conversation around, well, what is the super bear case, like realistically? And if the Republicans take the House, then we know tax cuts are on the way. Taxes are currently at what, 21%? That goes down to 15, 18%. All of that money is saved for the bottom line when it comes to the EPS for all these public companies. So there may be a renaissance of growth that the United States engages in over the next couple of years. That's going to have its battles with inflation, trade war, etc. But I think those battles hopefully can be resolved in a meaningful way. And as a result, it seems like there is an opportunity for the market to continue buying U.S. equities. Look, at the end of the day, you want to see the markets up in the United States because the markets are emblematic of the American culture of innovation and hustle and spirit, and this idea that America is the best and that, American companies deserve capital. I mean, if you could either put your capital in a American debt or into an American company, and we want it to go to American companies at the end of the day. So I think it's also one of those things where everyone has to come together, and regardless of who you support, regardless of who you believe in, there's things about Trump that are really bad. There's things about Trump that are really good. Same thing about Harris. There were some amazing elements to the way she has certain policy ideas, but there were some from an economic perspective that just weren't the best. And America chose one direction. Now America has to come together based on that direction, even though there's probably half the country that really doesn't like the guy who won. And my hope is that all of us can come together, not hate each other, and that the policies that Trump implements are somehow unifying enough. And realistically, from an economic perspective, the more the economy goes up, the more safer people feel, the more unified you can have as a population. Maybe that is enough to bring the country together, even if Trump's rhetoric is not unifying, which, that is fair. A lot of times Trump has very divisive rhetoric. That is objectively true. But at the end of the day, I think people don't care about it. I think people care about policies. They care about inflation. They care about having more money. They care about having their personal freedoms respected. And as a result, they overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump here. So there you go. That's what we got going on. I'm going to talk to a lot of people today. I'm going to call up a bunch of people, see their perspective on it. I want to talk to some people that are not Trump fans and get their thoughts on how this could be bad, this could be good. I always want to get other perspectives. Is there some policy that he's going to have that could end up leading to bad things? So I'll try to get some more perspectives here and try to deduce a ton of information. But just from the high level, 24 hours after he won, it does seem pretty bullish for the broader market. It really does. And maybe this is Roaring 20s. Maybe this is maybe a Palantir OG party, pizza party. Dude, we got to do something. There was this one video I think Brett tweeted of Palantir shareholders at $50, and it was I was like, I think they were like roller skating from some movie. We've got to recreate that. That was hilarious. It's going to be, and what I'm most interested about now is now he has to get sworn in. He has to get a cabinet. He has to do a bunch of press conferences. Like, there's a whole journey over the next 3 months before Trump gets in the Oval Office again. And I think Elon's going to be making a lot of trips to DC. And I think a lot of people who are fans of Tesla and Elon are going to really like seeing Elon and Trump trying to work together to get some stuff done. So, all right, here we go. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back today for the market close. What earnings do we have? Do we have any big earnings today? Tomorrow's a much bigger day than today. We do have Lyft, Duolingo, Qualcomm, ARM, Mercado Libre, AMC, and HubSpot today. Those are the big ones. Those are the big, and SolarEdge as well. So we do have a bunch of earnings today after the bell. I'll be live. Tomorrow is the very, very big day after the bell. On Thursday, we have a ton of stuff tomorrow. But today also IONQ, that one's today. Zillow's today. FICO's today. So today we'll have a good 10 companies to run through. And if they continue to execute, then Q3 earnings continues to go in the right direction, and we'll keep going from there. All right. Yeah, let's do word of the day. What's the word of the day? Let's see what dictionary.com gives us. Whoa. Wow. Okay, so I'm just going to give you guys the word of the day, and you guys can react to it the way you want to react. So the word of the day is quid pro quo. Something that is given or taken in return for something else. Dictionary.com, quid pro quo. It's quite a choice today to say that's the word. Quite a choice to say that is the word. So there you go. That is your word of the day on dictionary.com. That's a phrase, not a word. Yeah, technically that is a phrase, not a word. that's a funny one. So, all right. So you got quid pro quo. That's the word of the day. The reason I'm saying that's funny is because Trump was impeached for the quid pro quo with Ukraine, right? So it's just weird. They picked that word today as quid pro quo. What does Merriam-Webster say? Word of the day. Let's see what Merriam-Webster says. Imagine Merriam-Webster says fascist. That's the word of the day. It's like, all right, a lot of these websites might be trying to tell us something, right? Word of the day from Merriam-Webster is acapella. Okay, that's more regular. Acapella. Here you go. Acapella on Merriam-Webster. When a song is performed acapella, it is sung accompanied by instrumental music. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll be back live 3:45. We got a ton of stuff to discuss, and we'll get into earnings. Congrats, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here last night. It meant the world. Obviously, we're not as big as those big media networks, but it was awesome, dude. 8 hours. 1,500 people, and we laughed our asses off last night. It was really fun, and we got to have some good conversations and hopefully some good discussions, and appreciated everyone who stopped by and stayed with us and enjoyed the election coverage that hopefully we were able to provide everyone. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys 3:45 for the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.